Hey Curves, welcome. Hey Curves, how are you? How are you? Welcome in, everybody. Yo, baby, walk. Bit late today. I've been a bit tired, but I didn't want to miss out. I didn't want to not come online today. So I'm here. I'm here, everybody. I am here. Welcome, welcome. All right. Let's talk about Luigi Mangione. Roshan! You missed out, Roshan. Where were you? I made chaat. I had mango. Up late sewing. How's Ginger? Yeah, Ginger's doing really well. Ginger's doing really well. He has the stitches off. That was a loaded chart, yeah. It was good, man. The bale puri. Oh, that was something. I'm telling you, Roshan. That recipe. Wow. My mom knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. Where did I get the Golgappa from? We have it in the stores here. We have Golgappas here. The ones I made wasn't very nice. Wasn't the best, but we have we get Golgappas here. Welcome in, everybody. Oh shit. One thing that's happened, those were pretty big. Yeah. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. I'm telling you, Roshan, like this recipe, what am I trying to say here? Wow. Talk about having like a complete blank. Bale puri that we made. The bale puri that we made. I'm telling you right now, one of the best bale puris I've had. And I'm not just saying it because I made it. It's my mom's recipe, but oh, so good. Incredible bale puri.
In an attempt to draw public attention to his dislike of certain businesses.
Okay, so Luigi Mangione has pleaded guilty. Crazy. I don't know why. Yeah, my clothes brush, I was just lying in bed. I got like an immense anxiety attack and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go live. Oh gosh. I just need this to dodge some charges, I see. Yeah, it was let's just say I want to chill and have a chat with everybody. But let's go.
But we live in a civilized society governed by the rule of law.
We live in a civilized society governed by the rule of law with a raging pedo as the president of the United States.
We disagree. We protest. We do not commit murder. No grievance, political belief, or ideological cause can ever justify murder. There can be no celebrity in assassination. Any person who celebrates, encourages, or excuses actions like these is fundamentally wrong. Mangione attempted to send a public message through violence.
Hey, Doug.
But the message that emerges today is very different. Violence is not a legitimate instrument.
Hey, Curves, you should check out the cooking that we did. We did some incredible cooking. I think I think you'll enjoy it, Curves, when you have time.
To promote any
You should
political
check
or
it out.
social message. And those who resort to violence in an effort to advance.
Yeah, but Roshan, don't you know that capital is protected? Capital just gets to do whatever the fuck it wants. What are you talking about? You sound naive, Roshan.
Their beliefs will be prosecuted, convicted, and put in jail. Today, the Southern District of New York, together with our law enforcement partners, writes the final chapter of Mangione's federal prosecution. Now, he stands convicted in federal court and faces life in prison.
He does.
One other point that's important to note. While the defendant pled guilty, our office does not have a plea agreement with him. Instead, he pled open, which means he pled guilty to all pending counts in the indictment. There are no accommodations or concessions, and we are free to seek the maximum penalty under the law. I'd like to thank the dedicated prosecutors of our office's Violent Organizations and Crime Unit, who are beside me, for their remarkable efforts to bring this case. I would also like to thank the NYPD and the FBI, whose tireless and incredibly sophisticated investigative efforts made this conviction possible. Finally,
Issa, I cannot believe you missed the kitchen. What is happening? How did you miss it?
I want to express on behalf of all of us here our deepest sympathy and compassion for the many family members and friends of Brian Thompson. Mr. Thompson's family and many of his friends were in court for the guilty plea today. I know they will have an opportunity to be heard at sentencing. We all stand in awe of their love for their family and for their friend, and their unwavering commitment to seeing justice done in this case. We hope they can take some solace in the fact that from the beginning, we have brought the full force of the federal government to bear in this case. In this prosecution, we have consistent.
You should know Maple promised to make his invention on stream, poutine with pasta. Oh, really? That's good. The kitchen was so much fun and yummy foods. Yeah, totally. Oh, that's good. I hope this cooking thing. I know that some people already do some cooking, but I hope more people do it. It's fun as.
Pursued the maximum penalties under the law as necessary and just punishment for these crimes. The result achieved today now allows our office to seek the maximum penalty allowed, life imprisonment, which, as I've conveyed to Mr. Thompson's family, is what we intend to seek. I'll now turn it over to Commissioner Tisch.
Good afternoon. Thank you, U.S. Attorney McDonald, and thank you to the prosecutors and the federal law enforcement partners who have worked alongside the New York City Police Department throughout this case. Today, Luigi Mangione pleaded guilty in connection with the murder of Brian Thompson on a Midtown Manhattan sidewalk in December of 2024. This is an important moment of accountability, and my thoughts remain first and foremost with Mr. Thompson's family and everyone who knew and loved him. But I also want to take a few minutes.
Okay, look, I wanted to go through all of this crap, but here's the real issue with insurance. So My Perfect Union launched this video 19 hours ago. We uncovered where your insurance payments are really going. So Luigi Mangione pleaded guilty. Boo-hoo. Yeah, whatevs. But here's what insurance company actually do to you. This is the real murder. This is murder 2.
Looking at the bill, I was like, whoa, I was dumbfounded. And I'm just thinking, why is it so expensive? What can we do?
Since 2020, the cost of insurance for your car or your home has shot up more than twice as much as inflation.
As wildfire risk rises, so do homeowner insurance rates.
It's part of an overall pattern of increasing rates amid extreme weather events.
Less coverage for...
Look, I wanted to talk about Luigi. I did. I really did. I didn't. Because what Luigi did, he did in retaliation to the mass murder of of so many people. I don't condone violence. I don't think violence is ever the answer. The fact is, him getting arrested for his crime and the justice for his crime, it should also not only be justice for his crime, but the insurance company's crimes, right? Like, you can't just hold this one guy to account and then forget about the millions of people that insurance companies are killing. Crime should be held to account, no matter who does it, including insurance companies. And the fact that what insurance companies are doing isn't considered a crime, to me, is a massive cop-out. I think insurance companies should be held to account because they commit crime all of the time. Whether it's a crime committed by an individual like Luigi, a crime committed by the corporations, crimes committed by corporations, or whether it's crimes committed by the state. They should all be held to account. That's what an equitable society is about. No matter who commits the crimes, it should be held to account. But right now, the only people who are getting held accountable are the working class, but not the ones who perpetrate mass murder like insurance companies. And that's just sad. That's insanely sad. And our society needs to change. Our legal systems are way too skewed towards holding citizens to account rather than these huge corporations that are killing so many people. The guy ended so many with a pen that prioritized profit. Luigi moved defending the defenseless. Yeah, Issa, the thing is, though, it's about consistency. If Luigi's crime is held to account, then these crimes need to be held to account as well. Like, the asymmetry of it, right, is that Luigi shot a CEO. Let's be real. And that is a crime. But that CEO has also killed so many people through policy. And that's also a crime and should be held to account. Hey, Shanna, welcome.
For more money.
The usual explanation is that we live in a more dangerous world, so all of us have to pay for increased risks. But that doesn't explain this. Last year, the insurance industry made record profits. It made me wonder, are the higher insurance prices we're paying really necessary?
There's this huge...
If we know how much passive violence we perpetrate against one another, we will understand why there is so much physical violence plaguing societies and the world. 100%.
profit margin.
They're basically price gouging the climate crisis.
I spoke to policyholders and insurance experts and found another story of billion-dollar companies that figured out how to exploit our legitimate fears while increasingly failing to protect us.
We, in good faith, do what we do, expecting the system to work. Does anybody care about us?
With Americans now spending a record $1 trillion a year to pay for property and casualty insurance, where is all that money going? And how can we fix this system so that we can get insurance that actually works at a cost we can afford?
Hi, Sam. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
Taking care of my family right now, it's been very challenging. I'll say, okay, to my wife, can you do this, pay this on the car payment? I do the home insurance, the car insurance, the mortgage.
Jason Minot lives in northern New Jersey. In 2021, he and his wife bought a house and started looking for insurance.
Shopped around a lot.
The best option they could find cost $800 a year. Now, 5 years later, the cost is nearly $3,000.
My older son, we had him in karate. We had to take him out of that. I would like to put my kids in extra activities, but we cannot really afford that.
Home insurance makes up more than 10% of the average US mortgage payment, up from 5% 20 years ago. There are concrete reasons for the increase. Here in New Jersey, storms like Hurricane Ida have caused billions in damage. In fact, Hurricane Ida damaged Jason's house, and he had to spend about $20,000 to repair it. But that money came mostly out of his own pocket. He says his insurance company denied his claim, citing existing wear and tear, and sent him a check for only $1,900.
I feel cheated. Why myself and my family and others has to pay so much expensive insurance premium, and still at the end we don't get the protection that we paid for.
What we found was the prices are going up, but they don't need to be going up. The margins are huge.
Brian Shearer is a former official at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He recently published a report about the property and casualty insurance industry, aka P&C insurance.
Property and casualty insurance is effectively everything other than health insurance and life insurance.
Brian looked at how much money P&C insurance companies take in from customers in premiums versus how much they pay out in claims. That statistic is called the loss ratio.
You can tell whether insurance is overpriced by looking at the loss ratios.
Take a group of homeowners buying home insurance. Insurance companies sell to them based on risk, pricing in the probability of disasters. Over the year, the insurance companies pay out a certain amount of that. The closer the loss ratio is to 100, the fairer the price for consumers.
Between the 70s and the 80s, there was an average of about 80% loss ratios, and in fact it even spiked up to close to 90% on several occasions.
But in the last 2 decades, loss ratios have dropped.
I looked at it and thought, this doesn't make sense. Why are these loss ratios so low?
In 2024, the average loss ratio for the P&C insurance industry was just 62%. And for homeowners insurance, it was even lower.
2025, the loss ratio was 55%.
On average, the industry is keeping close to half of the money that homeowners are paying in.
In 2024, 2025 years, when the news has been riddled with stories about how climate change needs to be increasing insurance rates, we're seeing some of the lowest loss ratios we've ever seen. The insurance industry is price gouging the crisis.
Wow. The insurance industry is price gouging the climate disaster. Not only will corporations bring on the climate disaster, they will also price gouge you all the way through it. Wow. Just wow. Oh my goodness. There is no justice. There is no justice. Our justice systems protect capital, and that's it. My insurance in Florida is crazy, up from $1,200 a year to $3,600. Man. Florida's going to be hit badly, though. Florida's going to be hit so badly by climate disaster. Quirky, you should consider getting the hell out of Florida. Florida seems like a really hard place to live in.
In response to Brian's report, the American Property Casualty Insurance
Have you considered New York?
Association said that low loss ratios reflect that companies are trying to, quote, maintain and restore financial strength so funds are available to pay future claims. In other words, they're saving money for really bad years. So I wanted to know, is there a way to see if that's true?
So this is what they're spending the money on.
We looked at the annual breakdown of P&C insurance industry expenditures, which include their basic costs of operation, overhead, as well as buying their own insurance called reinsurance. But in recent years, the largest category of discretionary spending for P&C insurers was on this.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm.
Every time you see an insurance company ad, it is paid for with your premium dollars.
Rodney, set up a bundle for John Hamm.
It feels good to go. Can't touch this.
The ad budget and agent commissions total across the market at 16.3% of your premium. That is a cost that isn't necessary at all. The health insurance industry basically doesn't pay any selling expense. They spend...
But all my homies and my network are in Florida. We go out of town for money, but I don't know. Hate to leave everyone. yeah, that's the hard part, right? It's if you've built a whole life there, that's tough. Understand. Absolutely understand.
10% fighting claims.
And the top 10 insurers spent $134 million on CEO pay packages in 2024, and even more on other perks.
So far, I've found 16 private jets that the top 10 property and casualty insurers own. State Farm.
6. Oh, but you can just lie. Like, what do you do?
Farm purchased all 4 of their jets in a 12-month period in 2023 and 2024. When they
Michigan, Mr.
were
Anderson?
also simultaneously telling states like California that if they didn't let them increase their prices, they would leave. Liberty
Morning,
Mutual
Sunflower Soul.
owns
Welcome.
4 private jets.
Hey guys, just to let you know, we did a bit of cooking in the morning live. Check it out. The VOD's up. I will be sharing the recipe on Discord. Just trying to get the recipe properly formatted and things like that. But check that out. We had a lot of fun today. We had a lot of fun. It was so good. We ended up making some Indian street food, all vegetarian and stuff. Oh, Mom's recipe was incredible.
Which they purchased in the last 5 years. Progressive has a private jet. And then the rest of it is profits, dividends, stock buybacks. And so this argument that they need to be able to save in the good years for the bad years, that's not what they're doing.
Get Allstate, because mayhem is everywhere.
I see them in the commercials. And I see that on stations all over, and that's costing millions and millions of dollars. Just one commercial, one night would probably fix our problem.
James Fannin is bishop of a church outside of Dayton, Ohio. I met him and his daughter Teresa through an organization that helps policyholders with insurance claims.
Hi, it's Teresa. Yes, thank you for coming.
Last spring, a powerful storm blew off part of the church's roof.
I was devastated. It looked like a tornado had just ripped through the inside of the church. And the ceiling tiles, the insulation. So I immediately called the insurance company.
The church had insurance with State Farm, the largest P&C insurer, covering up to $2.2 million for the building and its contents.
We put our report together with pictures and videos.
The church hired Barry Deem, an insurance adjuster, to file a claim with State Farm. He documented that to replace the church's pews would cost $110,000.
They just said, we're going to pay $25,000. And they didn't put a report together. They had no pictures. And we have a complete report that says this is the damage. This is what it takes to replace it. And they just said no.
Altogether, the church estimates it still needs $590,000 to rebuild. But in a claims process that has dragged out for over a year, State Farm has only offered to pay $167,000 of that. What was your reaction when you heard that number?
Laughed hysterically because it's so sad.
In the spring, State Farm sent an ultimatum.
I got a letter from the insurance company that said, as of July 22nd, if we didn't get the external and internal church fixed and repaired, it was up to us to pay for it, that they were going to cancel our insurance. And it's like you
just don't do meth and you're probably chilling where I'm at. That's sound advice, Quickie, anywhere in the world.
You look in the mirror and say, wait a minute, if we'd have had the money to fix it, we wouldn't have needed the insurance.
There's Ohio code that states you have so many days to respond, so many days to write a check, so many days to investigate. But nobody's holding the insurance companies accountable, and they know that.
In response, State Farm said it can't share specific details about any case, but that it's been working with our customer and their public adjuster to provide all benefits available under the policy. Last year, the 5 biggest home insurers didn't pay out on 44% of claims resolved. That's nearly half of all claims filed, a coin flip on whether your insurance company actually protects you.
They've decreased the quality of coverage. They've made us assume more of the risk. They've found ways to cut off the claims payments that we're counting on.
Doug Heller is a consumer advocate who's worked on insurance reform for years. He helped me understand that insurance companies actually make most of their profit from investing our premium dollars in financial markets.
Because the insurance industry sits on our money before they have to pay it out, they get to invest it. So if they can hold off on paying claims, then that's profit for them.
Sometimes it's better to think of an insurer as an investment firm that gets capital by operating an insurance business.
In 2025, P&C insurance companies made $112 billion in investment profits. That's on top of $69 billion in underwriting profits.
Warren Buffett is the head of Berkshire Hathaway, and Berkshire Hathaway is one of the largest insurers in America because they own Geico and other insurance companies. And he says things like, the insurance business is unique among big businesses in America because people give us money that we get to invest, and we don't have to give them any of those investments back. And on years in which we pay out less in claims and expenses than we take in, people are actually paying us to invest their money and keep all the returns.
The result is that insurance companies increasingly behave like investment firms, raising prices or dropping coverage as much in response to financial market conditions as real-world risks.
Their true business is actually that they're institutional investors, they're banks. I want the insurance industry to pay you interest every day they deny, delay, or underpay a claim to create a financial disincentive from keeping our money.
Jane Kim is a candidate for insurance commissioner in California this year. In June, she won the state primary.
The biggest issue that I've been hearing from homeowners on the trail is canceled coverage or rising premiums. This office should demand transparency and accountability on how our premium dollars are spent. How much of it is going to CEO pay, to shareholders, to Super Bowl ads, versus actually the business that they're in.
In the US, P&C insurers are regulated almost entirely at the state level by insurance commissioners who have the power to control prices. I wanted to speak to Kim because she's campaigning on a set of policies to tackle both price gouging and insurance industry abandonment. To stop price gouging, she proposes setting a loss ratio floor, a lower limit for what a company's loss ratio can be.
We've been proposing 65 cents of every home insurance premium dollar should go back towards paying claims, and 75 cents of every auto insurance premium dollar. To give this a little bit of context, in California, it's roughly hovering around 48 cents per every dollar that we spent on premiums. So there's this huge profit margin for auto and home insurance that is largely a form of theft from the average Californian.
If you set a loss ratio floor, what that means is if the insurer overcharged you, you would get paid back. The insurer actually has to pay rebates back.
Well, that's what happens with climate change. We should make a community insurance company that can't invest in anything. There's no surprise there. Isa, the thing is, again, right? Corporations are going to squeeze as much out of us, and will expect us to take all the risk. And us creating a community-based insurance company is taking on even more risk. That's what they actually want. Oh, it's tough, Isa. It's tough. Like, we should do a company. We should do a community insurance company for sure. The thing is, insurance as a business model is just broken. Like, right now with climate change, insurance as a business model just isn't going to work. If you're in an area where you're going to be ravaged by climate change, it just won't work. We absolutely have a state insurance company in Florida called Citizens. It's just underfunded and a last resort. It's straight up unethical, yeah. It's no good. Like, insurance companies should not exist. Like, insurance companies should not exist. Like, our government should be helping manage these things. It's not big government to help people in trouble. It's not. It's the government's job. What if we just gave people what they need in a crisis? Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, like, I just don't get why this has been privatized. It shouldn't be like this, guys. Like, this is just so wrong. But see, they don't even have health insurance in the US. Yeah.
To all of the customers.
When insurance commissioners have tried to regulate prices more actively in the past, P&C insurers have threatened to leave states if they don't get the...
I have insurance. I have health insurance. I have life insurance here. I have, what do you call it? I have income protection insurance. All of these sorts of things. Like you need to get it. But at least in Aotearoa, like they seem to pay out. In Aotearoa, they seem to pay out when we're in trouble, you know? Like, I just think the US is so fucked, man. But I just look at insurance businesses, and I just think, fuck, what a racket. What an absolute racket.
The rates they want. That's exactly what State Farm has been doing in California for the last several years.
The insurance industry was saying that California is a market they can't survive in. And it is true. The insurance industry did have to and will continue to have to pay out huge claims for the Los Angeles fires. But between 2019 and 2024, California was one of the most profitable homeowners insurance markets in America.
Right now, we have two choices here in California. We either let them raise their rates or they exit California. And that's not...
My healthcare just rejected my blood work, saying they didn't cover routine procedures when they do. Now I have to call someone and get them to fix it. Fuck. Yeah, these systems are coming under a lot of scrutiny due to climate change. I think they're just going to be so bad. It's gonna. I think the whole system is prime for upending, and I think it's going to happen when climate change just gets too widespread. What will they do?
Not a healthy marketplace. That's a hostage situation.
To address insurance industry abandonment, Kim is proposing something new, a single-payer disaster insurance policy for all Californians. It's modeled on similar programs in New Zealand, France, and Spain.
Oh, New Zealand mentioned! Let's go! New Zealand mentioned, everybody.
I want to be a good boy.
Hey, Shiny. I haven't said hi to you, by the way. Were you just lurking?
Don't give the ball away!
Were you just lurking?
Thank you, friends.
It's getting to the point that propaganda of the deed is making more sense.
Which provide automatic and universal coverage against losses from natural disasters.
If you think about insurance, it was never meant to generate profit. What if California or the United States actually established a nonprofit, publicly run insurance program?
It's getting to the of the deed is making propaganda point that propaganda. Can you delete that? What? Delete what? That comment?
That actually served the original intentions of insurance, which is that it would be there to protect us. And we stewarded those dollars, and we kept the returns from our premium dollars as well.
Creating a public disaster insurance program would require support of the state legislature. And it would require money. For decades, Californians have paid premiums to private insurers. To transition to a public program, it would be crucial to make sure the money people already paid in is still used to protect them.
Hey, so after this, the story I want to cover is Jason Ade, okay? Because he has been found dead. And I want to talk about the racism in media.
If such a program is enacted, over time, it could give the public more control over how their premium dollars are spent.
We wouldn't have to pay out premiums and returns to shareholders and CEOs. In April of this year, Travelers Insurance, which is one of the top 5 insurers in this country, announced that they did so well in the first quarter that they had $2.2 billion in excess capital.
What do you drink, Quickie? Beer or harder stuff?
And what did they do with that excess capital? Did they provide refunds or discounts to their premium policyholders? No, they gave 100% of this to their shareholders.
Beer?
Last year, the insurance industry's policyholders...
There must be so much brainwashing in the USA. I really don't understand how people can still vote GOP. I really don't understand how people think that voting for the Democrats or the Republicans truly changes their situation in any good way. I don't understand. For centuries, they've been choosing between, well, for a long time, they've been choosing between two parties that's making their situation worse.
Holders surplus. The funds companies keep on hand to ensure they can pay claims hit $1.27 trillion, an all-time high. At the same time, since 2018, insurers have dropped coverage for at least 2 million people. 1 in 7 owner-occupied homes are now uninsured, largely because Americans can't afford or can't find coverage. In July, State Farm gave Bishop Fannin an extension. The church now has until mid-September to do repairs, or State Farm will drop its coverage.
My granddaughter, she puts her hand on my shoulder and she says, Papa, it's going to be okay. We're going to clean it all up. And in my mind, I thought that's what we could do. We could clean it all up. But we've gotten stuck in this nightmare. And it's like there's no way to wake up. And I'm tired. I'm tired as a man of God, made to feel like that we're insignificant, that we don't matter. We pay our monthly premium just like everybody else. I'm held accountable for everything I do.
I think mutual aid's amazing. I think mutual aid's incredible.
And why can't everybody else be held accountable?
Arde became the youngest.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. If you want to support our journalism.
Yeah, so now I wanna move to a story with this Cambridge professor who was thrown under the bus by Cambridge as well for plagiarism. The youngest intellectual, I think, the youngest professor. He an incredible dude. An incredible dude. Mandami. Incredible dude, and a lot of he has been attacked over and over and over again by media. To me, when I look at how scholars, white scholars, have been treated for the same accusations, and the way Jason Ade was treated before he was found dead, like less than 12 hours ago, he was found dead in his house, at home. The way the media attacked this guy, to me, this was a media lynching. This is a media murder. It's so crazy how the media attacked this guy. But let's listen to this story so the context is set for you. And we can dig a little bit deeper into what happened to Jason. An example of a person attacked in such a lopsided way because of his skin color. And I absolutely believe it. And we're going to look at privileged white men not having the same treatment for committing the same crime, committing the same offense. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Jason Ade was once the darling of academia. Now he's resigned amid scandal. A string of allegations regarding plagiarism and tall tales raised questions about himself, Cambridge University, and higher learning in general.
So this report was 8 days ago. Okay, this was 8 days ago. He has been found dead like 12 hours ago. So we're gonna work through the timeline.
Arday became the youngest black professor in Cambridge's history in 2023. A stunning achievement for someone who said he was mute until 11, has struggled with his autism, and left school with 2 GCSEs.
I went to university at 20, but had the reading age of a 9-year-old. You know, so you're trying to really kind of...
Really? I mean, is that possible?
Yeah, it is. Muhammad Ali spoke about this idea of will versus skill. Now, I don't have any skill, but what I do have is an indomitable will.
Concerns about Arday's credentials as a professor of sociology of education have swirled around Cambridge's spires for years, but they came back to the fore recently. Writing on Substack, a self-described race realist Nathan Kofnas wrote, "I was recently contacted by a faculty member at Cambridge who alleges that Arday is a plagiarist and fabulist. He added, I ran Arday's 2015 PhD dissertation through the plagiarism detection program CopyLeaks. It found substantial overlap with previously published work." That dissertation was submitted to Liverpool John Moores University. They said a confidential procedure had been conducted and that Arday's PhD still stood. But 2 of his articles in journals have been corrected in recent years following further claims of plagiarism, with Arday admitting to referencing errors. Cambridge University had begun an investigation, as had his college, Jesus. But then Arday resigned, criticising an unrelenting level of scrutiny and attacks. Arday said that while criticism is inevitable, what I have experienced has gone far beyond scholarly disagreement. The relentless accusation, speculation, and public commentary have taken a profound toll on me and on those I love. He said the resignation should not be mistaken for an acceptance of the narratives that have surrounded me. The allegation is that conservative figures are taking down black academics in their war on diversity. Kofnas, who wrote that original Substack about Arday, has himself been criticised for his views on race and academia, which have been described as deeply offensive. If your concern is about a very important issue of plagiarism, are you not concerned that those figures on the right are actually using this to not address something like that? They're using it to attack diversity, to attack sociology, to attack universities themselves?
Well, that's possibly true, but what's the best defence against that? The best defence against that is, for me, is to maintain academic standards. And sociology does have academic standards, and they need to be maintained.
But another history professor at Cambridge was found to have plagiarised and remained in post just a few years ago. Why was that not front-page news? And is there a wider concern here about plagiarism?
That man who kept his job, white guy.
At a time when there is a financial crisis at universities.
They have to publish articles in the best journals to almost survive these calls.
Bro, this is in my mind, this is the most stark example of a media lynching of a black man. I'm going to use those words. This is a media lynching of a black man. And you can quote me, you can do whatever the fuck you want, but this is what it is. He was lynched by the media.
Of redundancies. Does that mean there's a lot more plagiarism? Well, I'm sure there is pressure on some academics to look at other people's work.
Plagiarism is generally taken the least seriously. A lot of charges have been raised. They've, been confirmed, and many people remain in their position.
Why is plagiarism not taken that seriously?
I don't have a good answer for that, honestly.
Yeah, it's because when white people do this shit, it's often just brushed under the rug. But when they found Arday doing it, oh my gosh. I'm going to walk you through the torrent of racist bullshit online against this guy. This is a lynching.
Part of it is there's the ability to deny it and say, oh, this was just a little bit of sloppiness.
But there were wider concerns with Professor Arday. Talking to The Guardian, he said a pig's head was once sent to his parents' address and that police looked into the matter. But the Met said no investigation had taken place. And his Cambridge faculty page said he had visiting professorships at Glasgow and Ohio State universities.
Prime Minister of Thuringia in Germany got his doctor title revoked by his uni and refuses to resign. No one cares and no harassment, stalking happening. Yeah, exactly. Because he's white. White. This is a lynching.
Both institutions have now said they have no records of Ade holding such positions.
Honestly, I would say it taints the reputation of all academics and folks in these embattled humanities fields.
But is the concern there that that he's letting figures down? Or is it that other figures, black, ethnic minority, are looking at this and saying, the minute you put your head above the parapet, you are hounded and hounded?
There's a bit of both in that. But he was put up as the poster boy by Cambridge in his biography and by the people who appointed him there. And I'm going back again to the...
So Cambridge has more to answer than him.
Cambridge has something to answer for this, yeah.
Ade has denied he is a liar and fabulist and spoken about the scrutiny he has faced and the pressure of his role.
This might sound like a crazy thing to say, but I don't really like research. I find it difficult. Being an academic is really, really difficult.
Just like with any thesis, there are multiple chapters. Ade has questions to answer. But there is also the concern about his apparent hounding out at a time when there are so few senior black academics at universities. And there are still plenty of questions for Cambridge, and whether the university did enough, not just to support Ade, but whether they should have put him in this position in the first place.
Kieran Woodley reporting. Well, I've been speaking to the academic and activist Professor Gus John and Ian Pace, who's Professor of Music, Culture and Society at City and St George's University.
Because plagiarism usually comes down to misusing MLA format or whatever. Yeah, exactly. And you know who else got attacked like insanely? Was Dr. Robert DiAngelo after she wrote White Fragility, the book. She was attacked by everybody. They hated her writing White Fragility. They even got her for plagiarism. And guess what? It was a citation issue. It was a citation issue. She didn't use quotation marks somewhere. And she got dragged, bro. Oh my goodness. This is white fragility. This is white supremacy. This is everything. This is white privilege. This story has all of that. If you don't pay attention, you may miss it. But this is what it's about. When a white man commits a crime, it gets brushed under the rug. You even see pictures in media outlets where the person is, riding a fucking a jet ski with his family after he kills his whole family and shoots himself. But every time there's a murder like this, black and brown people are like, please let it not be a black or brown person. Islamic people are like, oh, please. Muslim people are like, please let it not be a Muslim. Because of this bullshit. Because they get absolutely castrated. And it is the inherent white supremacy and white privilege in media that fucks everything up. And I'm telling you, no one is immune from it. No one's immune.
In London. I started by asking Gus John whether he thought Mr. Ade had lost his job because he was hounded out or because of his own dishonesty.
Whatever his dishonesty may have been, there's no question that people alighted on his infractions or issues to do with his qualifications and achievements with a hostility which I think is really due principally to people's concerns about the abilities of black people.
I mean, he was accused of plagiarism. He is accused of, lying about some of his other achievements. I mean, that is a fact, is it not?
You are right. There are things which, according to what I've read, simply do not add up and require some explanations. Mm. Now, why these were not picked up earlier in his career? I mean, after all, he'd been to Ravensbourne, he's been to Durham, he'd been to Glasgow before getting to Cambridge. I'm not quite sure. But it seems to me that along the way, there are many people who could have intervened, whether to correct what he was doing or to say to him he needed to be more transparent about what he's saying his achievements are. I don't know. But it seems to me that there were failings all along the way as far as he was concerned.
Let's turn to you, Professor Ian Pace. I mean, is it fair to say that Professor Jason Arday would not have been hounded in the way that he was if he had been white?
No, I don't accept that.
No, I don't accept that. You know, I don't accept it. It's just those sneaky little black folk, you know, they're just sneakier than us white folk. I don't accept it.
I mean, if you look at this has been really quite an incredible story, and the amount of things that have come out, it just almost beggars belief at times. If I look first just at his work, because I first became aware of this autumn of last year when journalist Jack Grove approached me and approached a few other academics. He knew that I'd published articles.
I'm telling you this right now. I've been saying this again and again. There is no fighting the class war, nor fighting the patriarchy without dismantling white supremacy and white privilege. Not going to happen. This is why. Because black and brown people can't fight their patriarchy and their class positions, because ultimately white supremacy and white privilege supersedes the ability to fight any of those other things. It takes away power. There is, without dismantling white privilege and white supremacy, there is no such thing as a class war, nor is there such a thing as a war against the patriarchy. I'm telling you right now, this guy's example is such a great spotlight into all of this.
About plagiarism and so on. And he said this is one of the biggest cases he's ever seen in terms of the sheer quantity. Based on what? Based on examining his work in detail and finding large passages which were lifted verbatim or near verbatim from other scholars' work. Someone was getting a doctoral degree in part by passing someone else's work off
but
the
but that's not the first time that would have happened. I give you the case of Professor William O'Reilly, a historian at Cambridge University, found guilty of doing exactly what you just described in 2023, and guess what? Still teaching at Cambridge as a professor.
I haven't investigated that case in detail, so I would...
Oh, he doesn't know that case in detail. He doesn't know that case in detail, folks. But a black dude's case, yeah. Full detail.
Have to do that to sort of ascertain the extent of the plagiarism there. But I will say that from my own investigation, you know, and I've been checking some of Arday's work myself, and I've read through quite a lot of it. I'd say this plagiarism is a consistent factor across a whole range of it, not just the PhD thesis. A fraction of that, if we saw this in an undergraduate paper, we would be reading the riot act to them. And I've been on many panels where we've been doing that with students accused of plagiarism.
Can I ask you both a question? I mean, and you refer to this, Professor John, that there was such a long line of universities that should have looked into his record and into his work more accurately, and they didn't. So is the university system here at fault? They're just not doing their job. First, you.
Well, I would say yes, because you see, I said earlier that neurodiversity is a factor in this, and it was a factor. I'm not quite sure the extent to which reasonable adjustments were made to support him in his academic career. I'm surprised that some of the stuff that's emerging now was not picked up by Liverpool John Moores 10 years ago or whatever it is. And when I say that he's been failed along the way, what I'm actually saying is that supervisors, people who had the job, never mind the capacity, to comment upon his work and give him some developmental assistance on the basis of their assessments, didn't do so.
Yeah, but there are many people. But Professor, there are many people who will say the reason why they didn't do so is because they were too woke. They didn't want to ask the awkward questions.
That may be true in some instances, but in other instances, I believe that it is because people were not diligent enough about ensuring that he was given the kind of support and assistance that he needed.
Professor Pace, perhaps finally, I mean, this discussion, and the reason why it's become so inflamed is because it comes in the middle of a very, very heated political context. In America, we see an administration that is, using the abolition of DEI as one of its, articles of faith. Isn't the danger of this example, and that's why we all have to be really careful, that this could get so badly out of hand and some very innocent and brilliant people could get thrown under the bus unfairly?
Yes, there are dangers. I don't believe we are facing a figure akin to Donald Trump being, not head of state, but our prime minister here.
Yes, but you can see the climate changing, can't you?
Yes, I can, but I would look at this from another angle. This is a time of relatively low public confidence in higher education, which is currently going through financial crisis. There are cuts and redundancies all over the sector. I think it's really important that the sector does everything it can to regain public trust in what...
Look, guys, like Jason Ade getting attacked by white people for having a position or, expressing whatever, whether he deserved to be there or not.
You follow a detective.
Off-world colonist, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Whether he committed this or not, whatever the case, what I can see from the people who didn't like him at university, okay, this horrible thing is at the root of Jason Ade trauma. He didn't believe Jason should be at Cambridge or deserve to be in his role. He don't believe black people are intellectual enough to be in high-profile roles. He's a hateful parasite who hates on black people's success. By the way, what is this flag? Trans activist here. This guy, Travis Boodle. Black people define themselves by their skin color. Like, look at this. How can you be a trans activist and say things like black people define themselves by their skin color? How the fuck can you be a trans activist like this person apparently is? Fuck, bro. I just don't fucking understand, man. That's probably a bot account. Yeah, probably. I don't know if that's a bot account anymore. I don't know it's a fucking bot account anymore, because there are leftists on Twitch right now. There are leftists on Twitch right now calling me a misogynist because they're too fucking snowflakey to admit their own white privilege and they're being little fragile cucks. Like, had like 7 followers. Who cares? I don't believe that's that unique. I don't think that's very unique, honestly.
What they do. The sector is being decimated at the moment, and we have to show why we really matter.
Go on, Professor John.
He's one person. He is one person. And the argument that you're making, Professor Pace, and many others in the media, especially the right-wing advocates of getting rid of Ade and people like him, is that we all black academics, need to be looked at carefully in case they're a replica of Ade. And that is what is going to be happening from now on. You can't deny that.
All academics.
But shouldn't
Yeah, bro. I'm a fucking misogynist. I am a Zionist. All sorts of shit. I think Twitch tankies are the worst fucking people in the world. Well, actually, no. They're not worse than Asmongold or Nick Fuentes. But they're getting close.
So can I just interrupt? Shouldn't you all be, if that's where we're going, shouldn't every academic, including you, Professor Pace, put their work through a plagiarism detector? Everyone, regardless of colour. Is that where we're going?
I think that would be no bad thing, and often, certainly in my case, we do so. I mean, I think I'd know if I'd plagiarised stuff, but yes, I think work generally should be done, put through a plagiarism detector. And
work generally should be I took a look at the Juice gang, bunch of snowflakes. Who is that? Who is the Juice? Is it Juice gang? I don't know who that is. Are they a group on fucking Twitch? Like, these fucking people think that I'm the type of person to just fucking fold and let shit slide. I don't let shit like this slide, bro. I do not let shit like this slide. To me, like what Jason Ade went through, all of these fucking people, media people, like I saw that fucking Aaron Bastani, you know, the Novara Media fuckwit. He was shitting on Jason Ade too, that little liberal fuck. I honestly, man, like, you can't do this shit. They watch videos praising Stalin and Kim Jong-il. Great. Fucking idiots. Twitter is full of that kind of stuff, though. Trolls putting leftist stuff in their bio and then commenting a bunch of ignorant stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I think these people truly believe it. It's not trolls, RCS. Like, you can only use the troll card so much. They're not trolls. They truly believe in their own fucking bullshit. The only reason I'm on Twitter is because of the Palestinian people who are on Twitter. I see Twitter as the only platform that is giving Palestinians any sort of allowance, because a white supremacist who believes in freedom of speech or some shit is actually letting Palestinians speak. There are loads of Palestinian voices on Twitter, especially people from Gaza, because they're trying to find any platform they can speak on. You know which platform is actually fucking censoring Palestinian speech? Platforms like TikTok, but also platforms like Blue Sky. Blue Sky is deleting Palestinian accounts. So what choice do Palestinians have? And I am on there because I can witness. I can hear their voices. They're speaking all of the fucking time. So we can't ignore Twitter. We can't ignore it. We just cannot ignore Twitter, because there are real marginalized voices on Twitter making noise, and we have to listen. Okay. So now let's come to today. Okay? Let's come to today. 12 hours ago on ITV.
Former Cambridge professor Jason Ade, who resigned last week over a plagiarism row, is found dead. Emergency services were called to an address in London this afternoon. Jason Ade stood down as Professor of Education after allegations of plagiarism and questions over some of his achievements, which he had denied. Last week, the former professor said the controversy over his work had led to an unrelenting level of public scrutiny and attack. Tonight, Cambridge University's Vice-Chancellor said she was desperately saddened by the news.
Yeah, this is terrible, Nash. Like, fuck, man.
Also on the programme. The shocking moment of fire took hold of a young family's home in Stourbridge, one of 40 destroyed or damaged in a major incident in the West Midlands. Row. He had resigned from his prestigious post last week. Stepping away, he said, was not an acceptance of the narrative surrounding him, but was necessary for his own well-being. Today, he was found dead. The 41-year-old's body was discovered at a house in London. Police say the circumstances do not appear to be suspicious. Relatives tonight spoke of their shock, remembering him as an amazing father, partner, brother, uncle and son. They said he had suffered a campaign of abuse and that there had been a long-standing quest to undermine him.
When Jason Arday was appointed the youngest black professor in the history of the University of Cambridge, it was a big public moment. This man had overcome so many challenges to reach that academic.
Yeah, The Spectator is crazy. What The Spectator did, oh my goodness. I'll show you guys what The Spectator did. Yeah. Hold up, guys. I'm trying to find the image. This is in the last like 19 days or something insane. This is what The Spectator did. Look at this. Day after day, Professor Ade is the gift that keeps on giving. Why progressives were desperate to believe Jason Ade. The Jason Ade debacle is becoming a national scandal. Jason Ade quits Cambridge. Finally. Fact check that many claims of Jason Ade. How Black Lives Matter created Jason Ade. Why my father would have seen through Ade's nonsense. Sociology is about much more than fools like Jason Ade. Should the police investigate Jason Ade? Jason Ade and the Dukes and Dolphins of DEI. Meet Jason Ade's Cambridge colleague, Farah Ahmed. Jason Ade found dead at Battersea address. This is The Spectator in the space of like 2 weeks. I'm telling you, this was a lynching. This is a public lynching of media lynching of a black man. They lynched him.
Academic Summit. As he gave interviews about his achievement, the new professor voiced some frustration that he had also become a standard bearer.
For me, a victory from all of this would be for this to be the last headline about being the youngest ever black whatever. I mean, it's not a redundant point, it's a very important point given the dearth of black and ethnic minority people in higher education, full stop, particularly in institutions such as Cambridge and Oxford. But I think the actual more salient point is actually that this shouldn't be a headline in a couple of years' time.
Concerns that Professor Ade had been guilty of plagiarism in the preparation of his doctoral thesis were raised.
Look at this. Look at this scary shit the media does, bro. Jason, 4 hours ago and 42 minutes ago. The Times. This is from Barry Malone. Jason Ade may want to get himself a nice pair of orange trousers. Jason Ade, former Cambridge University professor, found dead. Publicly lynched. He was lynched by the media. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. By the way, this is the Novaro Media guy. Novaro Media guy. You know Novaro Media? Aaron Bastani, this fucking liberal freak. Watch this presentation by Jason Ade at UCL. He says nothing for over 40 minutes. It's genuinely impressive to talk for so long and say nothing. He piled on. He fucking piled on. This isn't someone who was over promoted. You can still be smart and have that happen. This is a con man.
soon after he began work at Cambridge. Earlier this month, the university announced that it had begun an investigation following new information about his academic qualifications, and he resigned soon after. In a statement, he said, "I no longer wish to feel as though I'm..."
Quirky, stop typing shit you regret. Stop it.
Living under a constant spotlight, where every aspect of my life is subject to public examination and judgment. His resignation, he said, was simply the decision of someone who has reached the limits of what any person should reasonably be expected to endure. Other parts of Ade's life had come under scrutiny. Claims he'd made about marathons he'd run for charity and the amount of money he'd raised.
Yeah, on Monday, a few of us got together to support him because he after the resignation in particular, he was really down. He felt like he couldn't, literally couldn't leave his house. And so we said, let's get around, have dinner with him, cheer him up a little bit. But obviously he didn't have he felt like he was maybe doing a bit better after that. But then I think there's just been more stories, more press, more this, more that, which is just really, really, really overwhelming.
Tonight, Jason Ade's family described a campaign of misinformation which was too much for Jason, who was a gentleman who always wanted to see the best in everyone. We are in shock, they said, to have lost this amazing father, partner, brother, uncle and son. Geraint Vincent, News at 10.
And there is information about services offering dedicated support on our website. Visit itv.com/helplines.
Yeah, this is what you get, a white woman pretending to be sad on the media after fucking lynching him. Fuck, I hate this shit.
When Jason Ade was appointed the young...
Hold on. Kia ora, Ngeru! Ngeru, hi! You came over. Oh, welcome, Ngeru. Oh, welcome. Welcome. I feel so angry, bro. I feel so angry. This was 13 hours ago, guys. This was 13 hours ago on Talk TV. Listen to these.
She is now home in her part of London and very kindly has joined us again at short notice on the very...
They invited a psychotherapist and life coach. Look at the way they talk about him. Talk TV fucking is involved in his death too. They absolutely crucified him in the media. They crucified him.
Sad death of Professor Jason Ade, who has been found dead, found unresponsive at an address in South London, Battersea, this afternoon. Lucy, a profound shock to so many people, not least his wife and 2 children. We're also in a situation where he has been the subject of so much media scrutiny over the past number of weeks. I would argue that most of that scrutiny is entirely warranted, given the nature of the story. What is your reaction to what has happened today?
It's an incredibly sad ending to this particular story, which had attracted so much media.
Oh, lady, this ain't the end of the story. This is one black man lynched by a white supremacist structure, and it's going to continue to happen. This is not the end of the story. And this asshole here is a genocide denier too.
Attention, and the media attention was valid in as much as it was.
I also want to show you guys this. This is Elon Musk laughing at locals talking about the water supply.
Critics say that Tesla is stealing water from the region.
This region has so much water. Look around you.
No, this is completely wrong. It's like water everywhere here. Does this seem like a desert to you? It's ridiculous.
What do you expect?
It rains a lot.
Critics say that
curious about what happened within a university and why they had chosen to elevate someone. But what often seemed to be missing was that this was a real human being, and clearly a human being who had perhaps issues throughout his life and who had found a way of coping with quite a lot of life by telling himself stories and creating narratives about himself.
Look at this shit. This is on Talk TV after his death. They are still treating him like this. They are still treating him like this. Fuck this racism.
Which had perhaps never been challenged. And I think it was very interesting that your previous guest, who has been through their own experience of some kind of emotional distress and emotional trauma, it's very hard for other people to recognize what a strain that places on someone. And if you are going through such intense media scrutiny, you are the object of that scrutiny. Suddenly all of the stories that you've told yourself about yourself, the narrative that you have constructed, then gets blown apart, it gets picked apart, it gets analyzed in the press. Where does that leave you? The structure you've created for yourself disintegrates, and you don't have anything to hold on to. And I can imagine that as best I can to put myself in the position of someone like Jason Arday, he must have felt incredibly lost and incredibly overwhelmed without the normal ways of coping that he'd had, which was to create these narratives about himself, for himself, to give himself strength.
Yes, it's a very interesting thing. And just on the screen, we're seeing Andrew Neil's tweet, the veteran broadcaster, often broadcasts for Times Radio. I'm just reading this off the screen. He has reacted and said, "This is terrible news. Jason Arday has been found dead. I did tweet last week that he needed a compassionate intervention from family, friends, professionals, and not more abuse, that he was clearly a troubled person who needed help. Too late. So sad." Very interesting one as well from D.
White supremacy has to be dismantled. This is white supremacy. They lynched a man. They lynched a man. The media lynched a man. And now they are blaming him.
Who is in Chesterfield, who says, echoing your points, I think, Lucy, when she said, when Dia said, when Jason Arday's research and claims about his achievements were exposed to a sceptical public, he had to relinquish his self-image and did not know how to create a more authentic, realistic one. It must be bad enough when something you believe in and is genuine falls apart for whatever reason. There's a cancellation, as Philip Kisley was talking about just a few minutes ago. That's stuff that is true, that he believes, his genuine beliefs, and then he was cancelled for that reason. When it comes with a construct, with things that were clearly false, that have followed you around, sometimes for years, and you're living what appears to have been a complete fantasy life, when that falls apart and you're exposed, that must be unimaginable for the human condition, Lucy.
It is.
Which channel is this? This is called Talk TV, like a racist right-wing channel. They've denied genocide in Gaza. They have basically manufactured consent for genocide in a far more straight-up way. These people are silly white supremacists.
Unimaginable because it basically exposes your immense vulnerability. And of course, the irony is that every single one of us, all of your listeners and viewers to this show, to some extent, we create a narrative about ourselves. And a lot of that can include quite faulty thinking about ourselves. We might tell ourselves that we don't deserve love, or that we don't deserve success, or that we don't deserve abundance. We tell ourselves these stories, and then they become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And this creation serves a purpose. It protects us from getting hurt. Our heart and our brains are very alert for finding ways to keep us safe and to keep us alive. And
this is like projection of the highest degree. Like, I can't watch this, guys. They fucking killed a dude. They killed a dude via media abuse, and I fucking hate it. I honestly, like, how these people get away with this stuff. I just, man. Now the media is like, oh, it's so sad. After they fucking put so much pressure on this guy. Look at some of this reporting.
From a PR perspective, they are probably sitting back, watching this play out, because the more publicity that he gets, because I suspect he's probably not going to be doing the rounds, although he'll probably be on Oprah next week telling his story, but he's not going to be doing probably the regular rounds, you know, speaking to you guys, speaking to Sky News, etc., etc. He'll just leave it to this.
Jason Arday's
Yep. There you go.
Memoir was not the first to contain an exaggerated life story. The best-selling memoir, The Salt Path, was sold as a true story about a couple's walk along the southwest coast path after one of them received a terminal diagnosis. But it later emerged that many of the details were misleading. So what responsibilities do publishers have to fact-check memoirs? We can speak to PR and book publicist Pam Liddon. Morning, Pam.
Good morning.
It's good to speak to you. Explain, first of all, when we say fact-checking, I read a note from somebody in the days of the week gone by.
To me, when I think about that lecture we watched around white fragility, I think about women like her. I really do. She shit on this guy. She's probably never even given a fuck about plagiarism until now. But she shit on him. She will probably won't be on fucking media talking about taking any accountability for what she's done. To me, there is no violence like white fragility. I don't know how many times I have to mention it to you guys, but there is no violence like white fragility. Jason Arday made white racist fucking people fragile because he was a black person who was successful in a field that they just didn't want black people to be successful in. They made him an example. The media establishment, the white supremacist media establishment made him an example, and they killed him. They lynched him. And she is part of it. Where was her fucking empathy?
That fact-checking for publishers basically consists of, let's make sure we can't get sued. Other than that, off we go.
Look at that smile. Honestly, look at it. Look at this shit. Am I a misogynist to point out that evil ass bitches like this are walking around killing people with their fucking tears?
Is it as loose as that?
Well, it's not changed very much, put it that way.
Okay.
I mean, look at the situation that we're in now, where, you know, poor Jason's in a bit of a pickle. But it's a really difficult one, because if you...
Listen to every word this asshole says, okay?
look at his background and his story, it's pretty compelling, isn't it? I mean, testicular cancer, locked-in syndrome, he had autism, he had a coma. It's not the kind of thing that you would go away and say, can I look at medical records, can I check on this? It's a really compelling story. And it's sort of one of those things that probably, they probably did a few bit of fact checking, but actually they didn't do a huge deep dive because they just don't have the time. If they've got an absolute bestseller on their hands, and they will know this, they're not going to go and do that deep dive.
Similarly, I would say, so it's reported in the Sunday Times today that some of the kind of more wild claims, such as running 30 marathons in 35 days and separately raising over £5.5 million for charity, they were watered down by the publisher. So I suppose, Pam, there will always be some things that are a bit more eye-catching, that deserve a little bit more detail. But I take your point that if somebody's talking about their own kind of medical history, you might just take that at face value.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was looking at Amazon this morning. He's number 9, in biographies. So, the publicity isn't hurting him. He's been backed by, Chris Gardner, who wrote The Pursuit of Happiness, Kathy Burke, even James O'Brien. So, he's got these really strong testimonials. He's got this really strong story. But I think the thing that the publisher probably went for was the youngest black professor at Cambridge University. And that is really compelling in itself, and with all of his background. So they're probably going to think, okay, we're going to water down the stuff. But I think also, and as you alluded earlier to the Salt Path, and I wrote about the Salt Path last year because I was fully invested in that, as many of your listeners probably were. But we were 2 or 3 books in when we found out the truth. At least with Jason, we're finding out now, so people can make an informed decision. Actually, do I want to buy this book or not?
Yeah.
But then more and more is coming out every day. But I was talking about it with friends and colleagues, and it's like, do we really care that he's plagiarised this? Do we really care? When actually, what he's done is give a lot of hope and inspired a lot of people. And actually, to be perfectly frank, I know he's left the University of Cambridge now, but they're the only ones really coming out of this badly, because they also didn't do their due diligence. They also didn't fact check.
Absolutely.
Bro, I am so fucking angry. I am so angry right now that pieces of shit like this are allowed to speak about people and not apologize for the amount of fucking stress they must have put this guy in. And he took his own life. It's insane. It's insane the amount of media targeting this guy has had.
Absolutely, and that is the root of the problem. In a publishing context, Pam,
they loved it too. They loved it. They have never, ever behaved like this. Never behaved like this for any other person's plagiarism claims. Why now? Why Jason? You have to ask that question. You have to ask that question. They haven't behaved like this for fucking Epstein.
Is there any obligation on publishers, if something's described as a memoir, I mean, there can't be any obligation on them, I suppose, for it to be 100% factually accurate? Can we trust any memoir we read? Are we naive to think that a memoir is fully accurate?
And I think you're right. And I think in this day and age, how good are our memories, to be honest?
Yeah.
What is it they say, varied memories and that kind of thing. So I think you kind of have to go in and sort of take it with a pinch of salt. But I think also it's one of those things where you're pulled in by the story, and I guess he's not going to forget his earlier memories. He didn't talk for years. So he's not going to remember that, but I guess he's not going to remember every single detail. So when you are reading a memoir, you do have to sort of take it with a bit of pinch of salt. But I think It's interesting. This versus the salt part. This we are going into. We know what's happened. And actually, it's quite interesting because it doesn't seem to be affecting the Amazon charts. He's going up the charts. Simon & Schuster have said they won't stop the book. They're going to carry on. And, from a PR perspective, they are probably sitting back watching this play out, because the more publicity that he gets, because I suspect he's probably not going to be doing the rounds, although he'll probably be on Oprah next week.
Oh, look at that. I bet you she felt fucking good saying that. Oh, whoa, I bet you he'll be on Oprah next week. Oh, fuck this shit, bro. They committed a murder. They committed a murder in cold blood. Hey, Auntie Wash, welcome. Kia ora.
Telling his story. But he's not going to be doing probably the regular rounds, speaking to you guys, speaking to Sky News, etc., etc. He'll just leave it to this. So from a PR perspective, and if I was his publicist, I'd be a little bit happy. I know it sounds terrible, but, publicity. He hasn't hurt anyone. He hasn't killed anyone. He's just sort of bent the truth. And I think, he's not Lance Armstrong. He's the Lance Armstrong of academia.
Yeah,
but,
I think that's...
They called him the Lance Armstrong of academia. What the fuck did Lance Armstrong do, you think? Lance Armstrong did... If they're comparing him to Lance Armstrong, you see how fucking racist this asshole is.
I was going to say, I think there's a distinction, isn't there? Because he's torched the education of lots of students at Cambridge who are now pretty unhappy. But I think there is a distinction between the Cambridge uni bit of it and the publishing the book bit of it, isn't there?
And you've got to remember, we're in the world of AI.
Yeah.
So plagiarism is going to go on. My daughter's doing GCSEs and she's constantly being told, we're going to fact check. I should imagine that academia is probably running around.
She compared him to fucking Lance Armstrong. Insane. This is the coverage of our day, just in the Telegraph in the UK. This is only the first 4 pages of the result. Just one outlet. My goodness. This is in 8 days. This is in 8 days. This is a media lynching of insane proportions for something that has never been blown up like this. This is a racist attack. Fuck, man. I am so angry, bro. Oh, fuck! He was facing valid criticism on portions of... What's the valid criticism he faced? What valid criticism did he face? He resigned from Cambridge University when there's a white guy in Cambridge University that got done for fucking plagiarism, probably worse than this guy, and he's still at Cambridge University, Amelin. What was the valid criticism? When was there ever valid criticism for this guy? They'll lynch you, folks. They'll fucking lynch you in public. They don't give a fuck.
Like headless chickens at the moment, thinking, oh my God, everybody's going to be fact-checked, And Cambridge and Oxford and all these amazing places, there's probably a lot of academics out there a little bit worried.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, Pam. It's good to speak to you, and that idea that PRs might not be all that bothered, actually. If this thing's flying, then why not? Pam Liddon. Yeah, good to speak to you. Thanks very much. PR.
Fuck you, Pam. Fuck you, Pam. Where did I save this? Fuck you, Pam. You absolute fuck.
and book publicist. I wonder if we should be just really offended that it's being dubbed a memoir. There's loads of stuff that's been... You read this report in the Sunday Times today, there's loads of stuff that's been taken out. The Times has been reporting on various parts already that have been cut.
We heard out yesterday in the book proposal.
Yeah.
So in the book proposal for the memoir, he said he had testicular cancer, he had locked-in syndrome, and almost died in a car accident when he was a teenager. Then when the book, we spoke to Sarah Ditum this weekend, she's read it. None of these stories are in the book.
Yeah.
There are some equally...
A media lynching, everybody.
Eyebrow-raising, alarming stories in there. So why didn't that feature? When the Times asked the publishers about it, they didn't respond to comments about that. So many messages of you coming in. Steve said it's non-fiction, non-fact. That says it all. Someone else said, well, why would anyone want to read, Fiona, a memoir which is filled with exaggeration and fantasy?
Yeah, so it doesn't need rebadged. Is there a new genre here where it's a fantasy memoir? I don't know. Where is the kind of offence here? And are the publishers right to carry on? Because they're going to go ahead with it.
Whenever you're talking about medical issues, and this is what the Salt Path really ventured into as well,
everyone starts to worry about this shit when it's a black man, eh? Oh, I fucking hate this so much. Oh my gosh. I just want the media establishment to be completely dismantled. This is James O'Brien. This piece of shit as well. This liberal piece of shit is so fucking disgusting. James O'Brien, I thought this guy was a leftist for a while. I thought he was like a leftist voice. This guy is just another white supremacist. Oh, man, I'm so fucking angry. I just want to throw my glass.
Done something that we have never done before on this programme. I got a text, I started reading it, and I signalled to Eleanor, I really, really want to speak to this person. And I am about to speak to this person. Joe is in Brighton. Joe, I can't say what made you pick up the phone, because you picked up the phone because Eleanor rang you.
I did, yes. Thank you. Good morning.
No, thank you for getting in touch via text. Well, just tell me your story and why this is of particular interest to you.
Well, the short story for me is my father was a very prominent academic fraud, both academic fraud and a fraud in the pharmaceutical community. And as a result of finding out a lot about his fraudulent behaviour, I wrote a book about him and about me, which is called The Scientist Who Wasn't There, which is currently out at the moment if anyone wants to read it. But it's about exploring that idea of suddenly, as you have experienced in the last few days, that kind of deep disappointment, and then the question why on earth did this person do this thing, not just to me but to everybody. So that's what the book is mainly about.
Your dad, Professor Michael Briggs, was forced to resign from his position at Deakin University in Australia after it was discovered that he'd faked results of supposedly of experiments pertaining to the contraceptive pill.
Fuck. That guy murdered human beings, potentially. Mass murder. They're comparing this guy to him.
So you get hit much harder than sort of mere interviewers by this kind of event in this moment. What did you find? What did you discover?
Really?
Well, yes.
I
don't know anything about Professor Ade, and I can't comment on that. But what has happened last week is a direct parallel of what happened with my dad at Deakin University in Australia, which is that the heat started to get too much. There was an inquiry taking place. There were criticisms, there were questions being asked about his work, and consequently, he very quickly resigned and disappeared, not just from the university, but from Australia, and moved to Spain, in fact, to a very remote house in Spain, where he died suddenly and unexpectedly about 2 months later. And this was all happening in 1986. So many years passed with me only knowing really about that particular scandal in his life. He died in the midst of this huge scandal, which obviously affected contraceptive pills worldwide. It was really big news in its day. But in 2020, I discovered that he was involved in a whole other scandal about which I had known nothing at all 20 years before, which is the Primados scandal, which I know you know something about.
Yeah, my friend Jason Farrell at Sky News has done extraordinary work in this field.
So, like, that guy she's describing, is an absolute criminal. Like, he's a criminal. That's like Theranos style crimes. You know, Theranos crime level. How can you compare that to what Jason did, bro? Oh, I just...
Exactly so. And so my dad was a linchpin of the Primados story 20 years before that scandal that actually resulted in the end of his life, arguably. And he was the clinical director or research director of Shearing Pharmaceuticals in the UK at the key time when Primados was on the market and questions were being asked about Primados. So we can now cast back into the 1960s and say, well, what we now know about this fraudulent individual, not just that he was carrying out fraudulent research in the 1980s, but what I discovered in 2020 was that he'd faked his qualifications.
What, entirely?
Largely, yes. He pretended to have a doctorate from Cornell University. I actually have the book that he used to have on his shelf.
Her father sounds like a criminal. Her father sounds like Jeffrey Epstein levels of criminal.
Which looks like a doctorate from Cornell University, but it actually isn't one.
Do we know how he made that?
He must have broken open what was a doctoral...
like a kind of Blue Peter, here's one I prepared earlier scenario.
Precisely. It's interesting you say that because the craft side of that has always fascinated me.
Yeah, well, same here. I don't know why.
One?
Yes, because that's the point where you sit there and think to yourself, what on earth am I doing?
Exactly. That absolutely fascinates me. There's another fraudulent thesis, which I call the red one. There's the blue thesis and the red thesis. Another fraudulent thesis which claims to be a doctorate of science, which is sort of super doctorate.
Good Lord.
And again, he's gone through the process of actually building something, in that case, out of photocopies of old articles.
Did he ever work for NASA?
Yes.
Oh, he did actually work for NASA. I mean, you must have spent the last 20 years just questioning every single thing that you ever learned about him. Some of them turned out to be true and some of them didn't.
Absolutely. I mean, NASA was very early in his career. I'm just commenting on the age of the person who's obviously the focus of your discussion this morning.
Yes.
My dad was very young too, and in his generation it was more common. You know, this is talking about the kind of mid 60s when people were younger in those sorts of positions. But my dad was only like 33, 34 by the time he was research director of Shearing Pharmaceuticals. He was in his 20s when he was at NASA. He was 23.
So he was a prodigy.
Well, he, in his own mind, yeah. And I think if you present yourself as knowing everything, particularly as a man, I'm sorry to say, I think gender's part of this story.
Yeah.
What about race, lady? What about race, lady? Fuck this lady, bro.
If you join.
Yay, O'Brien. I hate O'Brien. I hate him. He is as culpable for the lynching of Jason Ardé as any other media establishment. I fucking hate O'Brien.
If you get into the periphery of a monoculture and you stand there and say, I know all about this, I can do this, people won't question whether you're right or not unless they have a lot of evidence.
Yeah. This was 7 days ago. He was platforming people to shit on Jason Ardé, and 12 hours ago, Jason Ardé was found dead in his house. Do you think this guy is good? Do you think this guy's coverage on the genocide in Gaza? Who gives a fuck about comparing it to others? He's part of a media establishment that has manufactured consent not only for genocide, but now the lynching of a black man.
To the contrary.
So it is like a kind of build-up of water behind a dam, isn't it? And there needs to be a hell of a lot of water before the dam breaks. And in both your father's case and Jason Ardé's case, it was the breaching of the dam that prompted the resignation. It became impossible to hold it back. And while I appreciate that you can't talk about Jason Ardé, in terms of your dad, and I bet your book is absolutely fascinating, what do you think drove him? Because, you know, it's not hard to feel sorry for someone who ends up... well, maybe it is hard to feel sorry for them, but it's a mad scenario that you are utterly, utterly hostage to fortune. Yeah. What drove him to keep pushing himself deeper or digging deeper and deeper into this hole of his own creation?
Because this is my dad, obviously, I'm kind of standing very near this story, and I want to find out what you might call the truth. And I think part of my dad's story has a potential parallel in that he was a working class man growing up in Chadderton in Manchester in the post-war period, and he wants to be a scientist. He wants to be a spaceman, actually. He reads a lot of science fiction. And he's looking at the world and thinking there's loads of people at Oxford and Cambridge and elsewhere and MIT, and they're going to get what I want.
Right.
And the only way you can bridge that gap, or the way he could see it bridging that gap, is to kind of stretch the truth a little bit. Because I want to get into that world, and I think I could do well in it, but they won't let me in.
Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. And so, and I think that becomes so much part of what you're doing that you just can't stop doing it, and you forget even. I think he'd forgotten that he'd made up some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Nah, Leafy, he's a fucking lib. I despise him. By the way, Jason Ade dead today. I think this is the white liberal that Malcolm X was talking about. This is the white liberal. No, white liberals are not better than others. Let me just play this for you.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox. And a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to. But the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling and you take him for a friend.
That is the description of O'Brien.
To be honest.
What was the first? He is a fox. He is a white liberal. Dangerous.
Thing he made up. Do you know?
Well, you see, it's hard to say. I mean, he wrote a book called the Handbook of Philosophy when he was 20 years old, knowing nothing at all, as far as I know, about philosophy. And it's a terrible book. I've got a copy of it. But someone was prepared to publish this thing in Canada.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a good result. And I think once you start getting good results, you carry on. Another thing that's important about the Ade story is moving from place to place.
Right.
Because when I saw my dad's history, he moved constantly from university to university, and it looked like progress when I read it from my standing position.
Got it.
But once I found out more about him, it's actually flight. It's mainly moving away from the possibility.
Because if I move away from
out.
these questions, then they will not be answered. I might have to start again. But the questions disappear because the institution is not under threat anymore by the presence of a potential fraud in its ranks. So goodbye and good luck.
Yeah, and you encounter more people who don't know very much about you, who you can persuade again that you know the answer to all their problems.
This is absolutely fascinating. Absolutely.
Absolutely fascinating. I bet you he'll come on fucking media. I bet you he'll come back and go, oh, it's so disappointing. Oh, it's so tragic. So tragic. So tragic that he killed himself after the media went after him, which this asshole is a part of too, and went after him too.
You write in the book, he kind of forgot he was faking it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, and I think just to look at the story that you're looking at today from the perspective of race, I think is reductive, really.
From the perspective of race is reductive. Let's see what O'Brien has to say.
Yeah, I mean, it is from where you're.
No,
of course it is, but also I would point out to you that this will be the first most people have heard of your dad's story, although not Vic.
Correct, yes.
Vic's been in touch to say, this lady who's going on about her dad, I've heard this story before. Has she been on your show before? If not, can you ask where she's told the story before? Vic.
Yeah, he basically validates that lady's statement about race reductivity. You know what? By the way, you know who calls it race reductive when I talk about white supremacy and fucking white privilege? Leftists. White leftists tell me that that's race reductionism. Go fuck yourselves. Okay? Every white leftist who does not understand the role of white supremacy and white privilege do not belong in leftist spaces. Don't fucking tell me I'm race. This is about race reductionism. A man was lynched live on fucking on fucking TV by the media. A black man was lynched, and you talk about race reductionism? A genocide is happening in Gaza, and the media has fucking manufactured consent because they're brown fucking people and they practice Islam. You don't see the media talking without empathy when it comes to white fucking people in Ukraine. You don't see the media taking lightly when Israelis are killed. Where the fuck is my privilege? Where's their privilege? Do the Palestinians have fucking privilege? If you're in a leftist space and you do not think that white privilege and white supremacy play a role in society, you are not in a fucking leftist space. You don't belong in a leftist space. Don't pretend to be a fucking leftist. You can't wash off your fucking white supremacy, your white privilege by reading Karl Marx.
Barking. It doesn't really work like that, mate. You turn your radio on and then get a bespoke explanation of where the contributor. But you obviously have, given interviews and written the book.
I did a long interview on the World Service.
So there it is, Vic. There you go, Vic.
You might have been up late and you might have heard that, Vic.
The scientist who wasn't there by Joanne Briggs. And you're right, the race element is reductivist, but it's also the biggest element of the story for 80% of the coverage in this country at the moment.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's true.
Which is the tragedy, really.
Yeah. And perhaps moving on to a wider perspective. I mean, I don't want to comment too much on all of the aspects, but sociology has been under pressure for a long time anyway, and they have had frauds in sociology. The thing about my dad's work is he moved from academic work into proper science, as it were, when he stepped across from university into shearing pharmaceuticals in 1966.
Right.
And at that point, it starts to matter what you're talking about. I'm sorry to say it, but what academics say matters, of course, in a certain context, but what you say about oral contraceptives and whether they're safe or not matters in a rather different way. And that's an element of the story.
Listen, I'm going to mention it again because I really think you deserve to sell a few books as a consequence, not just of contributing to this show, but of having done the work, actually. The Scientist Who Wasn't There by Joanne Briggs. You texted me, Joe, so I presume you're vaguely familiar with some of the rubric of this programme.
Yes.
So you know that we reserve something for people who's... For people,
so excited.
For people who don't know, we reserve something. I'm not going to explain why, but it is reserved for people whose qualifications for the contribution that they've made to the programme are beyond belief. And I think everybody listening would agree that you are 157% in that category. So
yeah, bro, fuck this guy. Okay, so here we go. Look at LBC as well. LBC's reporting on this guy has been so wild. Has been so fucking wild. There's so... LBC. L-fucking-BC, bro. It's supposed to be some... It's every media outlet, guys. Every media... Let me just show you one more time, okay? Let me just show you one more time why this is such a fucked up thing, what you're seeing here. This is Jason Ardé. This is Jason Ardé reporting about him by the Telegraph in 8 days. In 8 fucking days. I bet you the Telegraph doesn't even have this many articles about plagiarism as a whole. Here is the Spectator in just a couple of days. This guy was attacked from every media outlet, the BBC included. The BBC included. The LBC, James O'Brien included. Platforming absolute fucking cucks. Look where we are. The media lynched a black man. The media lynched a black man And now they are going to send his family thoughts and prayers.
LBC understands that Jason Arday, the former University of Cambridge professor, has been found dead. Reportedly, he was found unresponsive at an address in Battersea in South London this afternoon. He was later pronounced dead at the scene. A spokesperson for the Met Police said officers were called by the London Ambulance Service at 3:12 this afternoon. They said, sadly, a 41-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene. His next of kin have been informed and are being supported by officers. At this time, his death is being treated as unexpected, but is not believed to be suspicious. The case is being investigated by officers from the Met's Central South Command Unit. A file will be prepared for the coroner. Incredibly sad news this evening. If you have been following that story...
Incredibly sad news, you piece of trash. Your radio station has manufactured consent.
It comes in the wake of weeks of revelations about his academic integrity, suggestions that he plagiarised his PhD, that he made up claims about his personal backstory, which was pretty remarkable. But it is incredibly sad news this evening that we bring you that Jason Arday, the former Cambridge professor, has been found dead at the age of 41.
We have to reflect this desperately sad news that broke yesterday evening. Jason Arday, the former Cambridge professor at the centre of a plagiarism row, you may recall, has been found dead. The 41-year-old was found unresponsive at an address in Battersea. Guy Stewart is LBC's reporter and has the latest. Guy.
Henry, so we heard from the family of Jason Arday, who say they are in shock at his death, and also that a campaign of misinformation became too much for him. Officers at the Metropolitan Police confirmed he was found dead at his home in South London yesterday afternoon, about a week after he resigned from his position.
They hate black people succeeding. They hate brown people succeeding. They hate it. They hate it.
As a professor of sociology at Cambridge University. Amid plagiarism allegations, his death at 41 is being treated as unexpected but not suspicious. In a statement through his publisher, Jason Arday's family said Jason was subjected to a campaign of sustained abuse for the more than 3 years since he accepted the role of professor at Cambridge University. They described him as a gentleman who always wanted to see the best in everyone, and they have asked to be left alone now. Labour MP for Clapham and Brixton Hill, Bell Ribeiro Addy, says that wish should be respected.
They are the ones that have been affected by...
You know, the same sort of narrative happens in Gaza too. They highlight the allegation, right? When have you ever seen an Israeli crime being called out without the line Hamas and without pointing out Hamas and October the 7th? In Western media, they will never ever talk about Israeli crimes without talking about Hamas and October the 7th. Because this is how the West manufactures consent for genocide. It's the same thing. They can never, ever show empathy for this black man without talking about these allegations. Even if they are true, it does not matter. What the media has done in these 8 days, or since this whole scandal or whatever this fucking thing broke, is lynch a black man, carry out a lynching, a media lynching. It is so fucking sick, bro. Horrendous. I watched this for 3 years with Gaza. They have murdered people in Gaza. Do you think doing this is any different to pulling the trigger on a gun? Do you think this is any different to hitting the button that drops a fucking grenade from a drone? The media establishment is so complicit for these murders, bro. They have done unthinkable amounts of covering for these crimes. It's fucking sick. Look at this asshole. Doesn't give a fuck about Jason. Pathetic piece of shit. And that goatee makes him look like a fucking pedo too.
This the most and those closest to him. And the main reason is to ask you, the media, is it not enough? He has been subjected over the past few weeks to some of the worst media scrutiny I've ever seen.
In 2023, Professor Arday became Cambridge University's youngest ever black professor. He became trailblazing because of it and his personal story. He said because of his autism, he struggled with speech until age 11 and that he only learnt to read and write at 18. An academic critical of Professor Arday and a newspaper first surfaced allegations of plagiarism in his PhD. That was awarded at Liverpool John Moores University, which cleared him of those accusations. Professor Arday denied plagiarism but did admit to errors in that body of work. Then, having stood by him, Cambridge University earlier this week said they would investigate his appointment to professor at the institution following some pressure from staff. The Vice-Chancellor of Cambridge University, Professor Deborah Prentice, has said, we are desperately saddened to hear this tragic.
If you're in the UK, go to this. If you're in the UK, go to this. When a racist white supremacist was shot in the neck, and died. By the way, I don't condone people getting shot in fucking public. I still have empathy for pieces of shit like Charlie Kirk. Okay? There was worldwide vigils held. This deserves a vigil. This deserves a vigil. Because this guy neither spread hate, nor did he do anything that deserved what he got. Nothing. Trafalgar Square, go to his vigil. If you're in the UK, go to his vigil. Because what happened to this guy is what's happening to the Palestinians in Gaza. What's happening to the people of Sudan. What's happening to the people of the DRC is what's happening to so many oppressed minorities around the world and in our societies. Because this is what the media enables. The white supremacist media enables this. And the real white privilege is being excluded from the targeting of media when something like this happens to you. That is the real white privilege. The ability to do something fucking horrendous and just have it brushed under the rug. While a guy that plagiarized, maybe, we don't even know yet, maybe plagiarized something on his fucking file or it told some lies, is crucified, is lynched by the media. Plattner is already making speeches again. Yeah. That guy raped women. He has a Nazi tattoo and he was able to run for office. He served in Afghanistan 4 times voluntarily. And yet, he can still stand up on a podium and make speeches. Oh, fuck this guy. This is the same system manufacturing consent for genocide. Never ever forget that. It's the same media ecosystem that is manufacturing consent for the genocide of the Palestinians, the Sudanese, the mass murder in DRC, all of it. The dehumanization of black and brown people. This is the same media ecosystem. I'd say Trump gets away with way worse. All white men do, Giffy. All white men do.
News, our heartfelt sympathies go to Jason Arday's family and friends at this incredibly difficult time. When he stood down, Professor Arday himself said the personal cost of scrutiny had become too great. Headline after headline called into question his personal achievements as well as his professional ones. And Henry, his memoir entitled Great and Unfortunate Things, was due to be published in the UK later this month.
Let's bring you more details on that now with Guy Stewart, LBC's reporter, who's with me in the studio. Guy.
Henry, a reminder, it was the Metropolitan Police that announced the death of Professor Jason Arday at 41 yesterday, and they say the death was unexpected.
Nigel Farage took $5 million from a crypto billionaire, and everybody knows it was fucking illegal, and he just won a by-election in Clacton that he called. White privilege. Don't fucking tell me there's no such thing as white privilege. We're seeing it in the media right now. Fuck this, man.
Expected but not being treated as suspicious. This came about a week after he stepped down from his position as a professor of sociology at Cambridge University amid allegations of plagiarism. A statement from his family released by his publisher says that Jason was subjected to a campaign of sustained abuse for more than 3 years since he accepted the role of professor at Cambridge University. They've also described him as a gentleman who always wanted to see the best in everyone. And Jason Arday, when he announced he was resigning, described the personal cost of scrutiny as having become too great. Founder of the Good Law Project, which had been supporting Professor Arday, Jolyon Mom, had been speaking to the media, saying he was in contact with Jason throughout this week, and he's given this reaction to the death.
What was the public interest in the continued hounding after his resignation in circumstances where his friends were publicly warning media outlets of how vulnerable he is very hard for me to understand.
Professor Jason Arday garnered such a high-profile position because in 2023 he was made Cambridge University's youngest ever black professor, a trailblazer, also because of his personal story. He said because of autism he had trouble with speech until age 11 and only learnt to read and write. An academic critical of him and a newspaper first made allegations of plagiarism in his PhD, which was awarded by Liverpool John Moores University. Now, that institution cleared him of those allegations. He personally did deny it, but admitted there were mistakes in that body of work. The University of Cambridge itself has released a statement through the Vice-Chancellor, Deborah Prentice, saying, "We are desperately saddened to hear this tragic news. Our heartfelt sympathies go to Jason Arday's family and friends at this incredibly difficult time." Henry, since we last spoke, I've been looking at some more of the reaction to this sad news.
They've spent more time on this than Gaza, than the genocide in Gaza. How is there anything like those two things don't even compare? This is the problem with the media outlets. Genocide in Gaza, an illegal war in Iran, genocide in Sudan. They haven't touched it. They don't care. But this, they crucified him. They lynched him. And I am going to use the word lynched because this is a media lynching. It is a clear-cut example of the media targeting a man on allegations in such a sensationalist way. They've never targeted a white man like this. They've never ever targeted plagiarism like this. But they took this guy on because he was in an exceptional position as a black man and has been an advocate for so many things and it was just mum's the word, right? DEI. It crossed all of their little checklist items. There is no fucking way that the Times has ever covered plagiarism anywhere like this. I would even go as far as to say, the Telegraph does not have this many articles in total about plagiarism all time. And yet they targeted this guy. They targeted him. A media lynching, everybody. A fucking media lynching. You better believe it. This is what's happening in front of our fucking faces. It's so disgusting, and the media will do this to anybody, black and brown. So don't call me a race reductionist, for fuck's sakes. That is idiotic. Because I didn't ask to be labeled a brown man. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about climate for a bit. I just want to talk about what's going on with the climate. Let's talk about the climate. And let's just watch the world fucking melting.
Another heat wave and another round of wildfires. In the coastal town of Omiš in Croatia, a fire that started in one of the town's suburbs spread rapidly overnight. Flames engulfed buildings and injured dozens of people. Hundreds of others were forced to flee as the blaze inched towards the town centre, threatening cars and homes.
We are all in shock. That's it. There are really no words for this.
Around 1,000 residents and tourists sought shelter in a sports hall.
Of course, we don't expect that. It was horrible for us. Our host tell us we must evacuate here, and we take our car and we ride here.
There were similar scenes in Britain, where firefighters grappled with multiple wildfires across the West Midlands. A blaze in the town of Stourbridge affected 6 properties and left people suffering from the effects of heat and smoke. A child and 3 firefighters were taken to hospital.
Yeah, I went out with a hose pipe trying to damp the fence down, but it didn't make any difference. It was just so quick, and it was 10 foot, 12 foot high. It was way above me. I tried to stay there as long as I could, but it overpowered me in the end, so I had to come in.
As Europe swelters through its 5th heat wave, wildfires have also broken out in northern France's usually rainy Brittany, and in Greece, where over 300 people evacuated seaside towns and holiday villages in the northern region of Halkidiki. Temperatures are expected to drop over the weekend, but the scars of Europe's summer of wildfires will remain and raise more questions about the future, as climate change becomes impossible to ignore.
Well, joining me now is Professor Stefan Dürr. He's director of the Center for Wildlife Research at Swansea University. His work looks at global wildfire patterns.
Whoa, is that the guy's wallpaper? I love it. I love it. Well done, Professor. Well done for the honest view. Man, even the way the media is talking about literal climate change with a more benign tone than Jason Ade. You know, climate change is like not being talked about while people's houses are burning. Tens of thousands of people are being killed because of heat waves in Europe and the UK. And they are talking about with more vigor about Jason Ade than the climate. That should tell you fucking everything about the type of world we live in. We're fucked beyond belief. We are so fucked. I'm sorry to tell you.
And ways to adapt to the increasing threat of fires. Professor, it's good to have you with us. So we have got fires burning from the UK all the way to Greece. How serious is Europe's wildfire crisis right now, and is any relief in sight?
Well, obviously the crisis is very serious. We usually have wildfires in the Mediterranean because the summer drought is part of that normal climate, but to have simultaneous fires across western and central parts of Europe is really a problem at the moment. We've seen earlier the scenes in the UK, for example. We have an unprecedented fire season due to a very, very long drought, which covers most of Western Europe. So it's a very serious situation.
Your research focuses on soils and water retention. How can Europe, which is such a water-rich region, how can it become so dry?
Well, the answer is simple. If you just look at the river levels in some of the main rivers in Europe, they are below reported level in the long history. So we just haven't had the sufficient rainfall. And this, as you said, it's dried out the soil extremely, and that also supports the vegetation to become so dry that a small ignition can immediately turn into a relatively severe wildfire. Whereas if the soils would hold more moisture, the vegetation would be greener, and a potential ignition, perhaps agricultural machinery or a match or anything else, really a spark from a vehicle, would then not actually ignite a fire. So it is very much linked to that very low moisture content in the soil and the vegetation.
This low moisture content, I mean, this drying out, has it been rather sudden, or have scientists been able to see it coming for quite some time?
You can certainly see that coming weeks ahead, basically, because once we reach relatively low level of precipitation.
The China Times, everybody. The China Times. Saying the absolute truth. In the 26 years these four men, in the 26 years these four men were president, they invaded more than 10 Muslim countries and killed 11 million Muslim people. Yet we never called them terrorists. Why? That is absolutely true. They are the terrorists.
And also high temperatures and low air humidity, that does dry out the vegetation relatively quickly. And we know that we can predict this with relatively good longer-term weather predictions. I don't think anyone would have really predicted with any confidence that the heat dome we have sitting over Western Europe persists for such an extremely long time. So this is, I wouldn't say necessarily unprecedented, but this is certainly something that I think many meteorologists were also surprised about.
And is that where we get the connection with the heat waves, the heat domes, and the drought? Is the fact that when it is hot for such a very long time, then the moisture that is in the ground and that is in plants, it is going to evaporate and disappear. I mean, is that the connection?
That's exactly the connection. And that means that vegetation that would normally not ignite easily can now ignite very rapidly. Again, if you look at the reports that were on your program earlier, it's often the grasses that are so dry that they can basically carry a fire very quickly. And once the grasses are burning, they can then ignite other parts of vegetation. Mm-hmm. And usually once you have a grass fire, that actually travels more rapidly than any other type of vegetation fire across the landscape, and it can ignite properties, and it can ignite forests, shrubs, and so on. So it's extremely dangerous.
When it does rain again, will the soil that's already, dry, will it be able to absorb that water and that precipitation?
Well, that's a really important aspect as well. Because the soil is so dry, in some areas the soil can actually turn hydrophobic, so it doesn't really absorb water very well. Also, we have these desiccation cracks, so that means a lot of water will just disappear into the subsurface and not be available for plant growth. Some of the water will just rush over the surface and go into rivers and reservoirs, causing erosion. So after such a drought, the rainfall will not be used in the same way and not be available in the same way.
The River Rhine is at such a low level, it's impacting the economy in Germany and the Netherlands. Hey, Magic, welcome.
Way for the plants as it would normally be in a moderately in a more moderate year, essentially.
And are we running the danger now of going from one extreme to the other? Going from drought, and then all of a sudden we get a lot of rain and the soil can't soak it up, then we have floods.
Yeah, that is very...
Look at this guy, just laughing. Look at him. Like, what is this? What is this report? Fuck, man. Okay, let's try NBC. Let's try not to get pissed off at the terribly emotionless reporting of mainstream media about like a generational crisis.
And out west, a critical water lifeline for millions of people across 7 states is hitting a dangerous new low. Lake Mead, the largest reservoir in the U.S., has fallen nearly 4 feet this year, dropping to just over 1,000 feet. That is the lowest level ever recorded. You can see it here. Satellite images showing Lake Mead just 3 years.
Oh! What does this look like, everybody? What does this look like? Oh, shit. What does this look like? It's not a Is it a coincidence? Crazy. It actually does look like it.
Years ago compared to now. Look at that. The reservoir sits on the Arizona-Nevada border.
Yes! Cypher, you got it! You got it!
Created by the Hoover Dam along the Colorado River. It's now just about a quarter full after years of drought, rising temperatures, shrinking snowpack, and heavy water use. And with Lake Mead still falling, the pressure is only growing to force deeper cuts to water use across the region. I want to bring in St. John Eberle. He's the Senior Director of Communications for American Rivers. St. John, I've known you for quite a while. We've spoken many times about this. What exactly, for people that don't know, what exactly is driving this drop?
Well, Steve, we're in the grip of a relentless 25-year drought across the Southwest. Last winter, we had one of the lowest snowpacks in recorded history on top of this series of very dry years.
How do I think of uteri? What do you mean? It just looked like it. It's a pattern. Like, I know the pattern. I've read about it. I've like tried to understand it,
According to the USGS, more than 90% of the total water in the Colorado River comes from the snowpack in Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming. And the reservoirs in those states are low too. The water is just not there.
The 7 states that rely on Lake Mead, the Colorado River, have been fighting over the water allotments for years. Last month, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation stepped in to ration the water supply, right? I mean, tell us where negotiations are right now with those states, and what could the feds decide in this case?
Well, the 7 states have been negotiating a solution for years and have not been able to come to a consensus. So last week, the government released an analysis of the many different ways the Colorado River could be managed in the future. These rules will decide how much water flows from the mountains through the reservoirs and through Grand Canyon to cities and farms below Lake Mead. So this is just the first step in the process. There's a path to manage the river that is forthcoming, and there's many new steps to come.
St. John, why does it seem like the lower basin states, especially when you're talking about Arizona, are taking such a disproportionate hit? And how are people in a state like that, especially Arizona, how are they reacting to the news?
Well, the federal government actually has more authority to manage how much water the lower states get, California, Arizona, and Nevada. And so, and those amounts are also dictated by seniority, which the states agreed to long ago. Arizona has...
Okay, but has anyone thought about the poor empty Nestle water bottles? Perfect.
The most junior water rights of those states. And so they could take a proportionally larger cut because of that. And they're very concerned. I mean, the state of Arizona, but especially the cities of Phoenix and Tucson, are quite reliant on Colorado River water to survive. And so it's really important that everyone, every industry, every farm, try to use less water. And then we also have to consider the river. While we have 7 states, there is only one Colorado River. And for all of us to thrive, we need it to thrive as well.
St. John Everly, I have a feeling we'll be talking again quite soon. Thanks so much.
We thank
you. Record smashed and emergencies worldwide. Oh, fuck.
That is being ravaged by extreme weather. These images are coming in from Croatia.
Oh, Croatia's on fire.
Where the scene appears almost apocalyptic. I mean, wildfires along the coast are forcing hundreds to evacuate. Shifting winds have been spreading the fires deeper into land, and other parts of continental Europe, including France, Germany and Greece, are also battling major fires. Meanwhile, here in the UK, fires have been ripping through homes in the West Midlands. The local fire service is calling it one of the most significant incidents in its history. And on Thursday, Britain recorded its hottest day of the year, with the summer on track to become its hottest on record. And it's not simply the heat that is impacting the globe. Drenching storms are rolling over the Midwest US for a 6th day. It follows a 1-in-1,000-year rainfall event on Wednesday. And just outside Tokyo, incredible pictures, record-breaking torrential rain has fallen on Japan's Chiba prefecture. At least 8 people have died, and parts of the region received nearly 3 times the average August rainfall in just one day. Scientists are again making it clear these historic weather events are linked to human-caused climate change. Our chief climate correspondent, Bill Weir, is joining us from New York. So, Bill, just break down for us why we are seeing such extremes here. Is it just related to climate change, or could El Nino be having an impact too?
Well, Christina, actually, the experts say El Nino really fully hasn't kicked off yet. It just started in June. It won't peak until the fall. So what's happening in Europe now does not include the worst effects of the Super El Nino. That remains to come through the winter and into next year. And it is what a climate scientist, Daniel Swain, out of UCLA, calls weather whiplash, which you've just described there, which is a warmer atmosphere holds a lot more moisture, every degree Celsius, 7% more moisture, which in the wintertime can bring a lot of vegetation. But then all that moisture goes away, dries out, and becomes tinder. There are now over 40,000 wildfires burning around planet Earth. 24,000 of them, more than that, are critical right now. 300,000 people displaced in France and Spain, biggest peacetime evacuation ever. So this is really all over the place. And this also has a long tail when it comes to crops. You're already seeing stores in the UK putting signs up saying potatoes and carrots and onions and wheat and barley, all of these things are going to become more expensive as this drags on, because famine ultimately is the hallmark of super El Ninos in the past. Tens of millions of people displaced. As the El Nino really kicks up, it tends to dry out India, Australia, eastern, southern Africa, while making other places much wetter. So we live in this age now, Christina, of too much water or not enough. And here's the scary part. This super El Nino could reach 4 degrees of warming in the Pacific, which is off the charts, past the 2.75 degrees that we've seen in recent ones. So it's like this is just the opening previews of what's coming for the next couple of years, sadly.
Yeah, so still worse potentially to come. Bill, it's so great to have you here walking us through it all. Thank you. I want to turn now to a guest of ours, Becky Spate, for more of a sort of look on the wildlife angle to this. She is the CEO of the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds and is joining us now from Nottingham, England. Becky, thank you so much. It's great to have you with us. I understand you visited a natural reserve in Suffolk just last week in England following a huge wildfire there, one that we've actually been reporting on. Can you tell me what that experience was like?
Yes, this was a fire that had ripped through Dunwich Heath
which is an area of ancient heathland, about 200 years old, which the National Trust cares for, and we neighbour it at RSPB Minsmere, which is a mixture of all sorts of habitats, including quite a lot of wetland, thankfully. And the damage that I saw was really very, very distressing. I mean, just kind of what had been kind of beautiful, kind of rich habitats full of wildlife. I mean, we're talking about birds like nightjars, sweet little Dartford warblers, all sorts of really fantastic birds, reptiles, etc. Just kind of had their habitat completely wiped out. And the fire service there were telling me that at one stage they had 40-metre high fire fronts because the fire had got into some of the pine trees and was sending those up like torches. So it really was a very intense, very rapidly progressing fire, and it has done enormous damage, and it will take us many decades to recover those areas. So we also had huge help, I have to say, from the local community. There were people who had to be evacuated.
Summer was already 2 to 3 months longer than usual too. This is going to be bad. Imagine those who thought years ago that farming in a desert was a good idea. The most important thing about this El Nino, guys, is we are at the start of the El Nino, like that man said. June was when it started, but it's supposed to get worse end of this year. It's supposed to be at its worst end of this year / early next year. Right? 2017, for all intents and purposes, is estimated to be, is forecasted to be the hottest year ever. So we're not even in the worst of it yet. Like, oh man.
Thank goodness no one was hurt. But the local...
You know what the great thing about the cooking stream was this morning? I didn't have to think about any of this shit. And I think all of us didn't have to think about any of this shit. It was just cooking. It was nice. But it felt off for me personally, like reflecting on it. It's like, how can there be joy in a time like this? It was weird. It was weird. I felt weird doing it.
Community really rallied round with the fire service, with neighbours and with our own teams to just try and manage this situation.
Yeah, and as you were speaking there, we were just seeing scenes of you, I think, walking through that kind of devastated landscape there. Yeah. I mean, it really doesn't look like the England that we know. I mean, obviously, when these wildfires happen, our first thoughts turn to...
I highly recommend checking out at Environmental Coffee House on YouTube. Her name is Sandy, and she is a chill leftist who brings on climate experts and others who know what they're talking about. She has a Discord where, yeah, Melanie, you mentioned this, I think, last time.
Sort of human life and preserving human life. But for animals and birds, how resilient are they to this kind of event, or how exposed are they?
Yeah, well, it's a real mixture. I mean, some of it depends on how big an area the fire ends up covering, of course. And certainly there were reports from our team of seeing birds.
Fair enough, yeah.
Birds, particularly nightjars, flying above.
Add their link. If you want to promote them, just add their link so that people can like go on it. Make it easier for people to find their channel. It was good to see you a bit more relaxed. Auntie Wash, like, I had a huge anxiety attack just before. I was planning not to go live. I was having like this anxiety episode, and I had to come live. I had to go live for a little bit. Like, I just couldn't sit still. Can't believe I missed your cooking stream, but we all need joy to remind us why we fight. Yeah.
The fireball when the fire was at its height, so kind of managing to escape it and get away. But of course, slower moving animals, things like kind of reptiles, you know, some of them will...
Like, I can't stop scrolling. I can't stop consuming information. So, and I was just watching this guy being lynched by the media, and I just couldn't sit still. I couldn't sit still. Like, the way the media fucked this guy up, like, holy shit, man. I have seen so many things like this. It's just starting to become fucking insane. That's another huge issue in Gaza. The refugee camps have absolutely no protection from the heat. They reported the tents getting as hot as 44 plus degrees Celsius, and they already lack water to stay. Yeah, exactly. And heat creates like environments for heat creates environments for diseases and all of it. Man, it's so sad, bro. What the fuck?
Go underground and try and escape that way, but we know that the temperatures underground from that fire were incredibly hot as well. So I'm afraid we will have lost a lot of wildlife as a result of the fire.
Yeah. You've said, though, that nature can play a role in helping us to adapt to this, severe climate change that we now find ourselves in. What do you mean by that?
So there's lots of evidence now, and it's growing, that where we can restore nature and bring back things like wetlands, things like re-wetting peatlands up in the uplands, for example, this is really, really good in terms of providing climate resilience, so resisting the impacts of things like wildfire, and also actually incredibly good for resisting things like flooding because it holds more water in the landscape. And we also know that where we have a real mix of different habitats going on in one place, so not a monoculture, not all one thing, but a real mix, then that's also really helpful in terms of addressing wildfire risk. So whilst nature is absolutely a victim of this kind of huge drought we're seeing at the moment and the wildfires that are arising as a result, it's also a real tool that we can use to create climate resilience in our landscapes as we're going to face into more of this, as you were hearing earlier.
It's not just we're not going to face into more of this, lady. This is the new normal. This is how the world is going to be. Europe is the fastest warming place in the world. It's not, we're going to experience more of this. This is the start. We're not even in the bad place yet, folks. This is the start. It's getting worse from here.
Climate change is here. It's making itself felt now in exacerbating this hot weather we're having. And we're going to see more of this. So we have to think about how we use nature as part of our national infrastructure, really, to help us build that resilience and adapt to the changes that climate's bringing at us.
Yeah, I mean, that's thinking on a sort of macro scale. On a micro scale, I did wonder, I mean, in a time of drought, what can we as human beings be doing to help birds, animals in this environment? I mean, simple things like putting out water for birds in this heat. Is that something you'd recommend doing? What else can we do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing I'd say is in terms of wildfires, they all pretty much in the UK start because of humid ignition of some sort. So a dropped cigarette or a piece of litter left lying, a piece of glass that then causes the fire. So, first of all, let's all kind of, when we're going out into the countryside and indeed, as you've seen today, out into our own kind of immediate green areas, let's be really careful about that kind of behaviour. But the second thing is, I think if you want to help wildlife during this drought, then absolutely put out water. We're saying if you can kind of refresh and clean that water every day, that's a good thing to do because it can cause disease to spread amongst birds as well. But absolutely put out water, put out some water on the ground as well for things like hedgehogs, for example, that need to access that water from the ground. And in terms of one of the birds that I'm really worrying about at the moment are these birds that kind of like earthworms. There are very few worms around at the moment, as you probably noticed. So being able to perhaps feed some kind of soaked mealworm is another really good thing to do for things like blackbirds and song thrushes that really need that in their diet. So we can definitely lend a helping hand.
Yeah. It's really good practical advice that I will certainly take on board. Becky, we appreciate you joining us and thanks for all you're doing to help protect wildlife here. What more can you tell us about these wildfires that we've been seeing in the Mideast?
Well, it has been a sweltering summer, and we've certainly seen the effects of that here in the United Kingdom, where, of course, the infrastructure is not really prepared for this level of heat. As you mentioned, we did see record-breaking temperatures just on Thursday, yesterday, topping 38 degrees Celsius. That's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So a significant amount of pressure on the fire services and, of course, on infrastructure overall. We did see fires breaking out in the West Midlands. Several homes burnt to the ground as a result of the blaze that we have seen now spreading in this part of the United Kingdom. We have been hearing from fire officials who have described this as one of the most serious incidents that they have had to deal with to date. So this just gives you a sense of the scale and the impact of these wildfires that we are seeing in the United Kingdom. And of course, this isn't a country that is used to seeing such incidents in the summer months, as of course many countries in Europe have now been dealing with for some years now. And of course, as we have been hearing from officials now, over the last year overall, there have been more than 1,000 wildfires that they have had to deal with in this country. So this is something that, of course, fire services across the country are now dealing with more regularly. And as temperatures continue to rise, something they may have to deal with more regularly in the future as well.
Yeah, and we know, as you say, it's not just here in the UK. What is the picture like across Europe, in terms of those wildfires dealing with the heat?
Well, for weeks now, we have seen wildfires spreading across Europe. France, of course, amongst those nations, really grappling with the impact of this blaze, which is struggling to be contained, really. This has been one of the driest years that France has seen. Just last month, we saw those huge wildfires spreading across the Bordeaux region. Now, they are still dealing with wildfires in the Landes region. We have seen some 500 people in the area forced to evacuate their homes. And of course, as we saw last month, many of these families will be sheltering in makeshift accommodation until they receive the all clear from firefighters to say that they are able.
Sounds like a scam/hoax to me. People are starting the fires on purpose to manipulate us, speaking as a chud. It reminded me of cooking with friends, family decades ago. Really good vibes. Only thing missing for me was music. Cypher. We'll get better. We'll do more. I really want to do more. I was talking to my mum, and I spoke about it at the end of the live. I really want to do something valuable in terms of like helping people potentially in food deserts use ingredients available to them to cook healthier things. Right? Like vegetarian cooking can require minimal amount of ingredients, but they can be very, very tasty. So I've spoken to my mother about it, and I think we can do more recipes that are accessible to more people in more areas. I don't want to just cook for the sake of cooking. I want to like help. I want to do something. I'm 40 fucking years old. I hated most of my fucking career, because I worked for assholes most of the time, contributing to projects that I hated. Like, I hated it. I was great at it, but I hated it. Now, I don't want to do things for the sake of doing it. I want to do things with a purpose. And that's the only bit that's missing for me. That's the only thing that's missing for me is... with the cooking show, it's not the music. It was just the fact that it was just cooking for the sake of cooking. I want to help. We have a store called Dollar Tree here. It's like a store with lower price stuff. Some people make healthy, delicious Dollar Tree meals. Oh, nice, Bellanissima. That's the exact same thing. I think that would be so cool, like mixing in some sort of value into this cooking for the community, Yeah, I started cooking vegan, mostly Indian food, and it cut my food costs down by more than 80%, and it was so much healthier. Oh, totally. The stuff my mom cooks is great. Self-care is important. Taking the time to cook a meal for yourself and your family isn't a waste of time, especially in stressful times. I agree, Magic Thighs, but I'm just very self-critical. I see Dollar Tree meal videos from time to time, and it's nice for people in food deserts. I think of that a lot. That's awesome. I also have doubts about the job I got like 3 months ago. I mean, more doubt about the company since it's a big global name. It's pretty chaos. I tried going vegetarian, lasted about 6 months because I lacked the recipes. However, I found that the groceries were way more expensive. Fruits and vegetables are way more than meat/poultry when you ratio your meals. I agree. Fresh veggies, fresh fruit are not cheap.
To return home, and of course it's not just the blaze
Which is
that
crazy.
is spreading, but it's also the aftermath, the smoke inhalation that poses a real threat to local residents. And we are seeing similar scenes in Germany as well. In Croatia, as you mentioned, Christina, we have seen huge fires spreading across the coastal region, forcing people again to flee their homes and evacuate. Some 1,000 people told to evacuate their homes. And according to reports on local media in Croatia, there have even been reports of people jumping into the sea because their boats were catching fire as well. So you can get a sense of the scale and how disastrous the impact of these wildfires have been. And of course, this is something now that Europe has been grappling with for weeks.
Yeah, and as
everyone's reporting this. I'm making that tamarind chutney Sunday. I have dates waiting for tamarind to be delivered by my niece. Oh, Auntie Wash, you're doing the tamarind chutney? Nice. The food you made yesterday on stream had ingredients that are more or less accessible in majority parts of the world. Yeah, totally, Ivan. It's just like in American food deserts. They literally just have like canned food and 2-minute meals and all of that sort of shit. Yeah, we didn't use like exotic stuff either. Yeah, it's so easy, right? Like, but I still think in America, what I made today, well, today for me, would be hard to make for a lot of people because they wouldn't have access to those, or it'll be very expensive.
These are not the sort of scenes we're used to seeing in England. Multiple homes up in flames after a nearby grass fire in the West Midlands spread.
It was just so quick, and it was 10 foot, 12 foot high. It was way above me.
The blaze started in a golf course at Stour Bridge, where lush green fairways had turned dry and brown. Residents living nearby fled just in time.
And all the trees along the railway track were exploding. They weren't just setting fire, they were exploding.
British firefighters have been tackling almost 40 blazes. New Prime Minister Andy Burnham has promised them more resources now and in the future.
It's clear that the climate is changing. Everybody can see that.
England has been tinderbox dry for weeks. We're now in the 5th heatwave of the summer and almost 3/4 of the country's in drought. A cool change is expected this weekend, but still...
Yeah, their stuff is way different. Like here, we could get kgs of lentils and split peas for dead cheap, but even in their food deserts, they often don't have those. Yeah, people won't have lentils, access to lentils and stuff. Spices, maybe spices, but I don't know how accessible those things are. A lot of people here in the US don't know how to cook, unfortunately. Like, let's say avocados or something similar, like the artichokes, which are very expensive and you get only a few of them. Yeah. The world really needs to be working together right now to cut emissions by any means possible. It's so frustrating that governments would rather murder and plunder for more oil. Yeah. And supported by the media. The media gives them cover to do it.
No meaningful rain. On the European mainland, there are multiple fire emergencies. 1 person's died, dozens were hurt, and 1,000 have been evacuated from the tourist town of Omiš in Croatia.
We smell smoke, so we just go out of the most necessities and we get out.
In Germany, 2,000 people were forced to flee the village of Gay after a wildfire near the Belgian border spread. Unexploded World War II ammunitions in the area are also making firefighting and land clearing efforts difficult, an added challenge in an already tough environment. Mazoe Ford, ABC News.
Oh, man. Indiana declares emergency as historic storms batter the U.S. Midwest. You notice that Donald Trump isn't saying shit about any of this. Donald Trump is avoiding saying anything about what's happening in America with forest fires and floods.
In the U.S. state of Indiana, a father of 6 loses everything. His house drying out from being fully submerged in floodwater.
My kids' house is gone. I mean, it's not really gone, but all the stuff in it is going to take months to get it back together, probably. I don't know.
Okay, let's make a pact. No Cletus jokes when people are suffering like this, okay? None. This man doesn't deserve to be made fun of.
We're just going to take it one day at a time and figure it out, I guess.
Across Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio, the damage is piling up. Torrential rain has overwhelmed rivers and drainage systems, washing out roads, flooding homes, and forcing emergency crews to carry out water rescues. Indiana's governor is describing the situation as historic.
That is more rain that you're going to get in probably 100 years.
Powerful thunderstorms known as derechos produced wind gusts approaching 160 kilometers an hour. Tornadoes.
Iran war live. Trump vows to make Hormuz U.S. territory pretty soon. This is like last 12 hours. Yeah, Trump is saying bullshit, bro. Trump has no fucking chance of doing that. The storms here in the Midwest have been insane. And no FEMA or social safety nets.
Tore through parts of the
Insurance
Chicago
companies
area,
fucking
damaging
everyone's lives
homes
up
and
too.
knocking out
Let's not
power.
forget.
More than 300,000 people across 3 American states went without electricity. And even as communities begin cleaning up, the threat hasn't gone away. Forecasters are now predicting additional rainfall as the dire effects of climate change continue to disrupt Midwestern life. Eva McKend, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Oof. My word. Okay, we watched this. Radio folks. Look, I'm just so upset, guys. I'm just so upset. I feel a deep anger about so many different things. There's a deep sense of like sadness also that I feel. It's just every day you see the media just manufacture consent for so much bullshit. I hope I can report something positive tomorrow, okay? I hope I can report something positive tomorrow. Because fuck, we need something. We need a win. We need a win. And remember that I was talking about the earthquake in Indonesia. Here's the latest. Oh, what the fuck?
As the earth shook, buildings collapsed, and people ran. At the port of Maumere, people climbing a gangplank onto a ferry were tossed into the sea. The powerful earthquake struck off the coast of Flores Island in East Nusa Tenggara just before 6 in the morning. The US Geological Survey said the centre was 10 kilometres deep. This woman said the tremors were so strong, everyone in her house ran out to save themselves. Across Flores, people fled for higher ground. Officials issued a tsunami warning, but it was lifted several hours later. As the dust settled, search and rescue teams worked to pull out victims. The head of the Maumere Rescue Office said they'd found the body of a woman and 2 others badly injured. Residents said the shaking lasted about a minute and was followed by several aftershocks.
For an earthquake of this magnitude, we'll get aftershocks continuing for days and weeks even.
Officials said the earthquake was felt as far as South Sulawesi. Flores is a popular tourist island near the Komodo National Park. Agencies are still assessing the damage and toll after a frightening morning. Tim Swanston, ABC News.
Yeah, the 7.7 is massive. Again, this is a logarithmic scale, so huge. 7.5 was the one that hit Venezuela. 7.4 was the one that hit Colombia. And this was 7.7. These are exponentially bigger. Okay, I'm going to leave us with this last story, one that we haven't visited for a while.
The Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo continues to worsen, with the number of confirmed cases climbing to over 4,500. Over 2,100 people have already been killed by the virus, a death toll that was reached almost 3 times faster than the outbreak over a decade ago. As Ebola speeds through the Democratic Republic of Congo, even those who are still healthy are struggling.
We used to carry 2 passengers on a motorcycle, but with the Ebola outbreak, the authorities are only allowing us to carry 1 passenger per motorcycle, which is having a huge impact on our finances. We're barely making any money.
Sellers at this market in Bunia are trying to make a living, but the outbreak is impossible to ignore. This is considered the fastest growing Ebola outbreak yet, reminding experts of the one more than a decade ago that killed over 11,000 people. Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, continues to sound the alarm.
It's already the 2nd biggest Ebola epidemic on record, and it's moving faster than any previous Ebola outbreak. At its current pace, it's on track to eclipse the West African Ebola outbreak of 2014 to 2016.
The rare Bundabujo strain is what's driving this current outbreak. There are currently no approved vaccines or therapeutics, and this strain kills anywhere from 1/4 to half of those who are infected.
Far out.
Complicating all of this is a fragmented medical system, short of people and protective gear, but with ample amounts of fear and misinformation.
We must continue to focus our awareness efforts on the outskirts of Bunia and on those within the city who are unable to accept the existence of Ebola and who are dying in the community until they come to accept that the disease is already here. We must step up these awareness efforts so that everyone can receive care as soon as possible.
Some frontline health workers say they haven't been paid in 3 months, and they're walking off the job in protest.
Without the effort of nurses, doctors, and hygienists, there is nothing. You can't defeat Ebola. They are fighting this with someone you don't even acknowledge. We put our lives in danger, even our families as well, because if I am hit by the...
Guys, this is not biochemical warfare. Okay? This is not biochemical. I'm going to say this again, guys. We need to stop this. No, it's not population control. No, bro. Like, whenever you guys say stuff like this, just note that there could be people from these areas in chat. No, this is not population control. This is Ebola. This is what a lack of investment in healthcare, Western extractionism, capitalism does to places in Africa. This is what capitalism is. Ebola is very real. Ebola is an indicator of the fuck up of capitalism. Like, capitalism has done this to Africa for years, man. For generations, for centuries. It's fucking terrible.
The epidemic, I go home. My wife, my children, my parents would also be infected.
The United Nations says, on top of it all, ongoing violence over Congo's lucrative minerals between Rwandan-backed groups and the Congolese military prevents those who need medical care from getting to it.
The World Health Organization reports that between 60 and 70% of Ebola-related deaths occur in communities, with many patients reaching health facilities too late or unable to access care in time. We, along with our partners, continue to support the response, but our work is hindered
Bro, this motherfucker.
by
right?
insecurity.
Like, honestly, I get this guy's well-intentioned. But every time this guy speaks, I just don't know why, but I just want to open hand slap him and just ask, like, I don't know why. It's sad to say, but in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, open hand slap.
We reiterate our call on all parties to the conflict to protect civilians and facilitate safe and sustained humanitarian access to communities impacted by both violence and the outbreak.
Yesterday, the head of the African CDC said the outbreak had now spread to a new province. For more on this crisis, we turn...
For more on this crisis, let's ask a blonde-haired white woman about how to fix this problem.
To epidemiologist Anne Ramoyne. Among her other work, she's led decades of work on Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo. She's the director of the Center for Global Health Security at the University of California, Los Angeles. And thank you so much for being here.
Why aren't these fucking people talking to people on the ground in the Congo, man? Just bring people on the ground in the Congo.
It seems like we have got exponential growth of cases in the DRC right now. What is your reading, your best sense of how things are going on the ground right now?
Well, you have an outbreak that's occurring on top of already a series of emergencies in a place like the DRC. You have conflict, you have poor healthcare infrastructure, you have poor infrastructure in general. And so it's not surprising to see that this outbreak is continuing to spiral out of control, given all of the things that are happening at the same time.
I mentioned a few of the challenges in that tape piece, but from your perspective, what are the biggest challenges to getting our arms around this outbreak?
Yeah, it's like the most trusted voice about the Ebola outbreak in the Congo is a white woman in the United States, because who doesn't trust a white voice?
Well, I could give you an entire list of challenges, but I'll focus on a few of them. The first one I would say is that just like the nurse in your reel just said, the healthcare workers are the cornerstone of this outbreak response. And if they are not being supported, if they don't have the equipment that they need to protect themselves, it's going to be a major problem. You cannot expect people to be putting themselves constantly in danger without the support they need. Another problem that you have is diagnostics. This is a different species of Ebola. And as a result, the tests have not been as readily available. We've been prepared for another Ebola Zaire outbreak.
Sound bombs. Nah, she's qualified, obviously, okay? She's qualified. But it's not that. It's just like, why aren't we listening to the people on the ground more? Why aren't we platforming, amplifying the voices of people on the ground? Stop shitting on that woman you know nothing about. Blame the media. Bro, what are you talking about? Like, this lady has been platformed by media. I just said, if you go back and look at what I said, you would have heard me say, this is mostly for Ivan. Okay. Hey, Matt, welcome. It's so tragic they are poor. So sad. Yeah. Like, to be honest, this lady should have the self-respect to go, okay, maybe speak to someone in the Congo. But she felt like she was a legit voice. This is what I mean. Like, using your privilege for good is also sometimes taking a back seat and letting the people on the ground speak, you know? She looks like the reason the Congo is like this. Matt!
The strain that has been responsible for the vast majority of Ebola outbreaks, but this is Bundibugyo. It's different, and the tests have not worked. So being able to roll out new tests has been very important. You have to identify people who are actually sick with Ebola, and then you have to be able to isolate them, treat them, and find the contacts. That brings me to the next thing. Contact tracing means you have to have good surveillance infrastructure, and you also have to have trust of the community. And all of these things are very complicated. And all of these things together just bring what I've been saying from the beginning. It's an emergency on top of emergency in a very complex situation.
I want to loop back to one of the things that you mentioned here, which is the workforce.
Let me be clear. Like, talking about a system, talking about a media system basically lynching a black man today, over the last week or so with Jason Ade, and then calling them out for doing stupid shit like this, like interviewing a woman who has no cultural, ethnical connection to any of this shit, just a random fucking scientist. Like, to me, is the most egregiously racist shit you can do. Okay, let's learn about the Congo. Let's learn about the Congo. Here is fucking Karen Davis from New York. Like, seriously?
Medical workforce. I was reading the WHO's dispatch most recently about this, and noting how many health workers themselves are getting sick. Is that, in your sense, is that because how contagious this strain is? Is that a function of training? Is that a function of access to protective equipment? What is that?
I think it's a number of things. You know, first and foremost, healthcare workers are the ones that are right there on the front line. They're doing all of the things that put people at greatest risk of exposure of Ebola, which is primarily spread through close contact with bodily fluids like vomit and urine and all of the bodily fluids that exist. So that's number one. They are right in the line of fire. Second of all, protective equipment is not as readily available as it should be. And third, people come in with a wide variety of symptoms. And so if you don't know that somebody has Ebola, it's very hard to know exactly how you're supposed to protect yourself. And so because there's such a wide range of symptoms that can be from mild to very acute, at this point, everybody has to be treated like a suspected Ebola case.
The WHO also reported that the outbreak seemed to have started back in February, not as it was officially declared an outbreak in May. Do you have a sense as to why that gap occurred? And does that gap also mean this is partly why we've had such a hard time controlling it?
Ebola is, something that can mimic other things. And so you need good surveillance, but you also need really good diagnostic tests. And the tests that
Guys, this is how the media works. The media puts a white face in front of you as the only type of face that you can trust. You can't trust those people from the DRC, those black faces. You can't trust them. So we need a white person to, lay it out for us straight. Come on, man. Calling out a system of oppression that has done this for fucking centuries is not like shitting on this white woman. This white woman is a tool of that racism. And she's happy to be a tool of that racism when she should have probably used her privilege to say, okay, how about, I know this guy in the DRC, you should interview him. He's on the ground. He's risking his life. Oh my God, now I remember my mother-in-law not believing me until she turned on Fox News to hear what the blonde lady says.
Were available were, again, these tests that were targeting Ebola Zaire, not Ebola Bundi Bugio. And in fact, there had been several people tested for.
But the blonde woman is more photogenic. Oh my gosh, Ricky. What? White person to lay it out how much they help the world, but the non-white don't want the world to be fixed, sadly. Yeah. This is how the media works. Has she spoken to experts regarding this who are on the ground? No idea. What does a guitar playing skills to do with any of it, for example? Yeah, I think I think people were trying to make, Ivan was trying to make I think that was hyperbole in this case, but I agree with you. Like, attack this segment on the substance of it. I think it's just, I think we're reaching a stage where we're all just sick of this shit, man. Like, we're all just sick of this shit.
For Ebola in the local laboratories using the Ebola Zaire test. And it wasn't until those samples were actually brought to another laboratory in Kinshasa where they actually had the assay that could detect Ebola Bundi Bugio that they were able to determine what it was. So there was this huge lag in time in terms of being able to detect what it was. And with Ebola, you've got to get in front of it. And the longer that this virus has to spread, the more transmission chains you are going to have to be tracking down. So Ebola spreads exponentially. And if you're not in front of it right away, you're going to be exactly where we can expect to be right now, chasing behind so many different chains.
Anne Ramoyne, always great to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, everybody. So I think we'll leave it there. But I just want to let you guys. I just want us to be aware that what we have witnessed with Jason Ade is a mainstream media lynching of a black man. Mainstream media lynched a black man. They went at him so hard. They went at him so hard and so violently that it killed him. This is, just so you understand, this is what the Telegraph did to him. In 8 days. In 8 days, the Telegraph posted all of this to target him. In 8 days. In a couple of days, the Spectator posted all of this to target him. This was a lynching. This was a lynching by a bunch of racist fucking people. Why did they go after him so hard? Because he was a black man in a successful position. The crazy thing is, here's the insane thing about all of this is I'll show you guys why this is so fucking horrendous. Okay. So in 2023, this bloke also plagiarized, but he plagiarized at a higher level. Cambridge professor remains in post despite plagiarism, and he kept his job. The media didn't attack him at all. History academic published an article containing large parts of essays copied from one of his students. He still has his job at Cambridge. He still has his job. If Jason Ade was a white man, he would have been alive today. I'll guarantee you that. He would have kept his job too. He might even have been protected. But the media went after him so hard. He ended his own life. Just remember, do not forget that we have witnessed a media lynching of insane proportions, and I am deeply fucking saddened, and I am profoundly angry that this is the world we live in. This guy didn't deserve to die, man. For what? For what, bro? Anyway. Yeah, Lisa. Take a look, Lisa. It's we did a whole segment on this. It's not good. It's just not good, Lisa. It's whatever you think of the guy, whatever mistake people think he made. Firstly, there are allegations, but the way the media has reported on him is just so fucking like out and out racism. It's insane. But welcome, Lisa. Hope you're well. All right. Raiders, please let the discourse know I said hi. I'm gonna try and fucking sleep. I don't think I'm gonna have good sleep again. But enjoy your raid. Kakite, everybody. Pomarie. Free Palestine. And I will see you all tomorrow, okay? We'll do a long live tomorrow. Take care, folks. Thank you, YouTube. Kakite as well. Take care, everybody. Take care, all.